Something like this. Hit it.
The Roger Report live morning show, weekdays at 9 a.m.
Say y'all, I was on Roger's panel a few times and I couldn't take it. The heat. I got out the kitchen. It was hot. I was sweating. I had to get out.
He's Roger, and he's right.
Check this out.
We can live or die. You choose. I have spoken to you a lot of times in hatred and anger, and you have not heard me. Well, you had better hear me today. If you won't listen to me when I make an appeal for the Negroes because you have no concern for the Negroes, listen to me when I make an appeal for America. You claim you love America. Well, we love America. But you are driving us back and you are making a Samson out of us, and we are going to pull down the pillars. And then you think we have no right to ask for something? Is it too much to ask you to grant us human dignity? Should we be put down and shot to death for this request? If so, you can aim your guns. What the hell do you think we care about dying if you're going to deny us the right to live?
Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Roger Report Live, the best show on social media. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and take a moment out to hit that like button, because this is where you're going to get the best content on social media, and you don't have to worry about it because you're going to have me right here to make sure that happens. And if you already been coming to the channel for a while, then go ahead, hit that like button, because you already know what time it is. And you know that this is where you're going to get the best content on social media. It's not a mystery to you at this point. You've seen other people do it. You've seen other people do it well. But what you have not seen is anyone do it quite the way I do it. So make sure you hit that like button. And everyone, yes, everyone, take a moment out to share the content, y'all. Share the content. There are so many people who need to get great content like this. And it's just a small thing you can do to help the world be a better place. And isn't that what we want at the end of the day? Don't we want the world to be a better place? Of course we do. So share the content out. Share it through your social media, share it through word of mouth, or even text someone's phone. But do what you got to do to help spread the word. All right, folks, today we are here and we're going to be talking about, of course, another interesting topic, because why would I talk about a topic that ain't interesting? Will white supremacy survive without the assistance of Black women? Okay, will white supremacy survive without the assistance of Black women? Okay. Now, some people may think that's a silly question. Nah, it ain't. It's something that people really need to put some thought into. Real talk, y'all. It's something that people really need to put some thought into. Will it survive without the assistance of Black women? Now, before we go too far into this, I want to give a shout out to people who help make things happen around and do, because, without proper support, it's hard to get things done. Well, I have plenty of people. I am blessed enough to have plenty of people who chip in over here at the Roger Report Live and give financial contributions so I can do this as I do. And I appreciate every single one of them. So I got to say shout out to my main man, Floyd Thompson. He is the sponsor of today's stream. Shout out to you, Floyd. Shout out to you. Appreciate you big time. Appreciate all you do, y'all. And I tell y'all, I appreciate everything, great or small. I do appreciate it all. And for the folks who wondering like, man, I don't want to do this, or I want to embarrass myself and chip in here or there. As y'all can see, it all adds up at the end of the day. It all adds up at the end of the day. So I ain't mad at you. So shout out to Floyd Thompson, another sponsor of a stream. Appreciate you big time, my brother. Appreciate you big time. And as a real talk, y'all keep in mind, it all adds up. So I'm very appreciative, very appreciative. And now let me get some shout outs to a few people who kicking it off with me. It's always great that when you start getting your things together and you put something out, when you start your show, that you have a few people already rocking with you. It's good to see a few people already rocking with you. But y'all know how it goes over here at the Roger Report Live. There can only be one. And if you ain't got one, why are you messing around? You got to get one, y'all. You got to get at least one, at least here once in a while. But shout out to the Highlander of today's string. My main man, Tunnel Runner, is in the building. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Always great to see you, my friend. He say, just trying to be number one. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Shout out to Peasant the Legend. Glad to see you in the building, my brother. Glad to see you. And to answer your question, yep, but we keep on moving. We keep on moving. Shout out to the deputy on the grill. J-Dub is also in the house. Great to see you, my friend. Great to see you. Patrick Saint is in the building. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. The Righteous Teacher has pulled up a seat to the cool table. Glad to see you, my brother. Glad to see you. Trail Bentley is in the house representing, as y'all know he gonna do, hashtag long live the habitual line steppers, hashtag Negroes in the wilderness, hashtag dignity over vagina, hashtag Al Gore's baby, and my favorite, hashtag El Hydra. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. And y'all know the coolest man in show business has entered in, y'all. Y'all know how it is. Our unofficial quality control guy, Chef Mike's Roundtable, head of the pit crew. Thank you for all you do, my friend. Thank you for all you do, because it can get wild sometimes to chefs, sometimes chef have to shoot warning shots here and there, let people know, hey man, you better watch your soup. We try to quiet down a little bit. Shout out to Inspired True Broadcast. Glad to see you in the building. Patrick Saint is here as well. Appreciate y'all, and everybody else listening, and everybody else coming in. But we're gonna get into this, y'all. We're gonna get into this because this is something that really should be thought about. Okay, it really should be thought about. Will white supremacy survive without the assistance of Black women? All right. Now, there's some things going on in the country, and people have some opinions about how special they are or how important they are, and things like that. And J-Dub, I got you next, brother. I got you next. Okay. Don't trip. I got you next, J-Dub. Real talk. Okay. We ain't gonna have you out there like that too long. I got you next. But y'all, there's a thing about white supremacy. And as I've said before, that this is something that is taught in this country. If you are raised in this country, you are taught to be a white supremacist basically from birth. Now, if you come over here as a little kid, it may not be from birth, but it'll be very entrenched in you by the time, for whatever age you get here, that's when it's going to be pushed on you, And I understand kids they're not going to see the world like adults for the most part. So kids are going to accept things in a much different way. And I don't even trip that you're a white supremacist as you grew up. My thing is, once you become 18, now it becomes your decision. Okay? It becomes your decision. Real talk. It becomes your decision. So the thing is, even though you may have grown up that way and you want to blame, all the different things or entities that influenced you to be a white supremacist, once you're 18, it ain't on them no more. It's on you. And people may say, well, that ain't fair. How am I supposed to just shake that off? Look, that's your problem to solve. Okay? It's your problem to solve. We can let you have an excuse, but if we let you have an excuse, then everybody get to have an excuse. And if everybody get to have an excuse, ain't no point in dealing with it. So there are no excuses for any of us. That's real talk. That's the only way you can deal with things in a real way. So nobody gets an excuse. Nobody gets an excuse. All right. Your white supremacy is on you. Now, white supremacy gets a lot of help from non-white people. And a lot of us don't necessarily pay attention to all the help that it gets. Now, when it comes to black people, there's definitely some things that we got to look at. And I put in a very interesting clip, y'all. I put in a very interesting clip so y'all can see a lot of white supremacy working in a lot of ways that maybe people can catch right away. But honestly, I don't think most people would catch how much white supremacy was flowing in that one clip that I actually put in. Now, this is, again, not to go against people, y'all. This is just to learn the different lessons on how we move and we develop in the way and the ideas people form and have. And we don't even pay attention to how white supremacy, how so in tune we are with white supremacy, which is why a lot of folks ain't really even trying to shake it. Okay. Now, it's good for people to at least attempt to shake it. But a lot of us, we don't even pay enough attention to know we supposed to be shaking. We think we all the way down where we're supposed to be. Now, an interesting clip came up where you have two women taking a position about DEI and working, and you got a man who observed it, and he wanted to throw in 2 cents, but was saying that he don't think it's his place to throw in 2 cents. And it was a very interesting thing. So we got a black woman who just straight up with it, y'all. And my thing is, I can appreciate her honesty because, at least if you know where somebody is, you know how to plan a little bit better. You can make better decisions with better education. So we got one black woman, now I don't really know why they're throwing the DEI thing in there because it don't really matter based on what they said. Okay, it didn't really matter, but she was talking about she don't want to be part of nothing where there's a DEI hire. She just wants a white boss. Now, she threw DEI in there as if it got something to do with anything. The woman says she'd rather work for a white man. What the heck does that have to do with DEI? Because let's keep it real. If you want to work for a white man, you want to work for a white man regardless of why that white man is in that position. Now, if you actually take on the narrative that a lot of white people have taken on, saying that DEI means you have unqualified minorities in position, if you bought into that narrative yourself, that says you don't really pay much attention to what's going on. And truth be told, if you happen to be a person who's working under somebody who is totally unqualified for their job, and you a black woman, who you expect that person to be? Because that's possibly another black woman. So you don't want to work for an unqualified black woman just so you can see black women get ahead? That's an interesting concept, that you as a black woman don't want to work for a black woman who is not competent in some particular position so you can see black women get ahead. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Now, let's keep it real. We know it ain't about black men because black men don't get to be in positions they're qualified for. You get to get an entry level position, and if you don't get that right, they gonna get rid of you. So we know when someone talks about DEI, that just takes black men off the table. Black men ain't getting jobs, and they just not qualified to do it. You gonna show that you qualified, or you out the door. Okay, you're gonna show you qualified, or you out the door. That's just what it is. And ain't no getting around that. That's why I've said before, and I think a lot of black men should start saying it on a regular basis. The last thing you about to do is find a black man with a job that he ain't qualified for. That's about the last thing you about to do. Okay, you try to. You can make an effort. Go try to find a black man with a job that he's not qualified for. All I'm gonna say is good luck on that one. Good luck on that one. Because if you find that, you probably just found somebody who's still in their first 90 days of having a job. That's probably what you found. But where you gonna come up with a black man who has a position that he ain't qualified for? That's crazy work right there. So it was interesting for her to say that she wouldn't want to work for the DEI hire just give her a white man. Now, I'm going to say she threw the DEI in there to kind of hide her real feelings. She just want to work for white men. That's it. That's all it is to it. You know, because when she said that, she wasn't using it in the context that the DEI would be a white man. Because what if you got a white man who's unqualified for a job? Okay, because you want to work for the white man. Are we supposed to pretend that here in America we don't have white men in positions where they're not qualified for their job? I mean, how many brothers done helped a white man be qualified for his position, or at least be able to fake it enough to hold on a position where the company is able to keep moving the way it's supposed to? Because in a black man's experience, a lot of us, we either train some white guy who gets a position he's not qualified for, or we help train some white guy who gets a position he's not qualified for. So we see that on a regular basis. So for the woman to come out and say, well, she don't want to work for no DEI, I just want to work for a white man. I mean, there's no context that the white man need to be qualified, which would have made sense to say if she just didn't want to work for an unqualified person. But I accept what she said because I don't think she has an issue of working for an unqualified person. She just has an issue working for somebody who ain't a white man, because she'd rather take orders from a white man. And that's cool. You know, it is what it is. I get where you're at. If you tell me what it is, I can accept it, and I can make good decisions based on what the reality of your situation is. So I ain't even tripping. Now we had the other young lady who she presented as if she opposes the first young woman who said just flat out she'd rather work for a white man. Okay, she came off as that's what she was on her mind. I'll say like that. That's what was on her mind. But then I listened to her, and I listened to the words she was using. She said she'd rather work with people with some diversity. She did not say she didn't want to work for a white man. Okay. Yeah, she didn't say that. You know, she was like, I'd rather work with people with some diversity. Okay, well, the first young lady was talking about who she gonna work for, as in who's she gonna work under, who's gonna be the supervisor, the manager, the owner, the vice president, whatever thing you want to use as a person in a position of authority. She made that clear that she want whoever she got to report to be a white man. The second young lady did not make it clear that she didn't want to work for or report to a white man. She just said she'd rather work with people with diversity included. You can work with people and have diversity be a part of the package, and still a bunch of diverse people can still have to report to a white man. So she didn't actually say anything that I remember hearing where she disagreed with the first lady. I know it came off that way. That's how she was trying to put it. But I didn't hear her disagree. Saying you want to work with people is not saying you want to work under somebody who ain't white. Now, my thing is, you could say that's a slip of the tongue, but you got to look at what the conversation was actually about. When the conversation is literally about working for a white man versus not working for a white man, and you don't clearly say that you don't want to work for the white man, you prefer to work for somebody else who is in it, somebody diverse as the position of authority, then I don't think that's what your message is. You know, I hear you, but I'm listening. I didn't even hear her disagree. She just said she want to work with some other people of color. That's all she's saying, really. Well, you know, first lady said, no, I want to work for a white man. Now, she threw the DI in, which really didn't have anything to do with what she's saying. She just said, I want to work for a white man. If I'm going to have to report to somebody, I want to report to a white man. Okay? See, if the white man ain't qualified, it's cool. But if you other niggas ain't qualified, That's a problem. I don't want to work for unqualified niggas. Working for an unqualified white man, I'm with that. But I don't want to work for you unqualified niggas. I don't want to work for you unqualified other people. If you think she don't, when she say niggas, that she don't mean every other group of people in that context of how I'm saying it. So yeah, working for an unqualified white man, no problem. Working for any of the rest of you niggas and you unqualified, yeah, I can't support that. I can't support that. And I'm just saying that was an interesting take. All right. That was a very interesting take. Okay. And then the other young lady is acting like she's opposing that, but never said anything about working for somebody else of color. She threw it out there. She said, I'd rather work with a diverse group of people. Working with a diverse group of people could still mean a diverse group of people reporting to some white man. That does not mean you don't want to report to a white man. It's plenty of jobs out there where you got a diverse group of people reporting to a white man. Plenty of jobs out there like that. You walk into a factory, walk into a corporate office, walk into a lot of places, and you can see a diverse group of people answering to a white man. Here's what it is, So, very interesting take. That's what I'm going to say. Very interesting take. Now, you had a man who he was trying to tiptoe around and basically ask for permission to give a non-opinion. He didn't say, man, can I get a little room to give my opinion on the subject? Can I get a little room to give my opinion on the subject? Nah, can I just get a little room to talk around it? I'm not getting in the middle where I'm for what any black woman said, and I'm not going to get in the middle where I'm against what any black woman said. Because you ain't going to find me saying something where black women going to disagree. You ain't about to find me doing that. Okay, I say, okay, that's a very interesting thing to start off your stuff with, And I'm not saying the brother didn't mean well. I am not saying he didn't mean well. I'm just paying attention to what I'm hearing. So he tiptoed around, not even making an actual opinion. He don't even want to say his actual opinion on the particular subject that he brought up. He the one put the video together. He one took this clip from over here. He took that clip from over there. And then he was like, hey, there's some black women in these clips. I'm not finna get between them. I'm gonna present them, but Lord knows I ain't gonna speak against either one of them. And it's interesting that a brother could do something like that and then don't want to make a declarative position pro or against either one of them or their idea. Because it ain't about them, it's just about the idea. He didn't want to do that. And what he did was he just basically started praising black women. And, he told a story. Now, I'm not going to see when he tells us the story that he told, well, I was only charging this price for my services, but this black woman gave me 3 times the price that I was initially trying to charge. I'm not going to say that's not a real experience. He could have that experience. But more than likely, if he had that experience, that black woman probably had a husband. Let's keep it real. That black woman probably had a husband. I ain't going to say it didn't happen. And a lot of black men do talk about how what was in their way of getting a position is a black woman. But that doesn't mean it ain't a black woman out there who will actually do right by us. But normally those women have husbands. So I'm not going to say he lied. He one person with that one interesting experience, which is cool. Not saying he lying, but I would bet money that the woman who did that got a black husband. I bet money on that one. So I ain't mad at it. Okay. Usually, if black women treat you better, let's just keep it real. Usually, black women who treat you better are married. I'm gonna keep that real. Okay. When I look at dealing with strangers, I don't know them, they don't know me. If a woman treats me better, she's usually I'm talking about black women, y'all. If a black woman treats me better, she's usually married to a black man. And that's just real talk. All right. And I'm sure if you start thinking about your own personal experiences, you're going to start to come up with the same conclusions. So I'm not going to say that his experience didn't happen. Now, the thing is, as he talked, you could see how in his mind, he is supposed to be subservient to black women. I'm not mad that some black woman gave him an opportunity, but the way he positioned himself, he already understands that his position is to be subservient to black women. He let us know that. Look, black women, I'm not going to get in between what y'all say. Can y'all please extend me some grace so I can not even actually make a definitive opinion in an argument in either way, even though I'm going through the trouble to put clips together to present it to y'all. I ain't going to, but can I get some room to make a non-opinion? Interesting. That's all I'm going to say. You did that much work to not have an opinion? Very interesting. Okay, very interesting. But I'm not surprised about it because there's a lot of men who will do stuff like that because at the end of the day, they just want money to flow in. A lot of people focus on the money before they focus on the message. I ain't saying that's him. That's just some guy. He doing what he do. But when it looks like something and acts like something, I believe it's that something. That's all I'm saying. Now, this is the thing. He takes a position that black women should be in charge, which is fine. Now, you can guess how he was raised. You can take a wild guess on how he was probably raised. Because he sounds like a guy that I would, if I got to bet my money. I don't know what you would do with your money, but if I got to bet my money, this guy was raised by a quote unquote single mother. Okay. And I would say this, based on how he's coming across, he probably hangs out in those circles that are anti-black men who call themselves pro-black groups. Okay. There's a lot of people who call themselves pro-black, but they're anti-black men. And that's why I really wish people would start telling the truth about them, that they're not pro-blacks. They're just anti-black men. Okay. And there are men in those circles who serve in those circles because they believe, quote unquote, the black woman is God. And shout out to Chef Mike's Roundtable. He say, baby mama, baby. I'm pretty sure that's probably what's going on with him. Okay. Or see, the thing is, if you fall into that pretend to be pro-black group, you possibly was raised by a man who thinks the black woman is God. And I think if you are raised by a man who thinks the black woman is God, you still might get like the same type of thought process going on. That's very possible. Because it do be men in those groups. And we can't act like it ain't men in over those groups too. It's definitely some men over there who believe it's an honorable position to take a sucker role and be led by women. They think it's honorable to be led by women. Let's be real about that. Okay? They think it's an honorable position for them as men to be led by women. And the black woman is God, so they ain't got nothing bad to say about her. Now, I can't tell you that man has ever said the black woman is God. All I can tell you is I heard him not want to voice an opinion in either direction because he didn't want to be against any black woman. That's what I saw. Now, you can say what you saw, but I'm going to tell you what I saw. I ain't got no issue with it. Now, the thing is, that's a very interesting clip. I know for some people, and some people might say, well, why would that be the clip he used? And the show is titled, Will White Supremacy Survive Without the Assistance of Black Women? Well, let's keep it real, y'all. How did this man get to the thought process he had? Obviously, he believes women are supposed to be in charge. Now, that's on him at the end of the day. He ain't got to be that way. He is clearly an adult. You know, if that's how he wants to live his life and that's what he wants to promote, I can't blame nobody else at this point. That's his fault. Okay. That's definitely his fault. You know, can I believe the story that he told at the same time while I understand that there's some problematic thought process going on in his head? Absolutely. Because the black woman who gave him 3 times the pay that he was even asking for, yeah, I know it's still a few black women out there, especially older black women who are married to black men that'll do stuff like that, and they'll do right by you because they don't see you as a nigga. They actually see you as a man. And unfortunately, you will have somebody who believes the black woman is God, and they can't even pick up on that, you know, because they too busy thinking the black woman has to be in charge no matter what. And it probably would never cross his mind that she actually is led by a black husband, and she knew her black husband would not approve of her doing him dirty. If she comes to the conclusion that if I pay him what he asked for, I'm doing him dirty, her husband wouldn't approve of that. So I'm not going to do something that my husband wouldn't approve of. And it makes sense if you think about it, because you think that woman wasn't older than him? What's the chances of that woman not being older than him? And I'm not saying it's impossible, because we still have some fathers out there who are teaching their daughters right. And even if they get into those positions as a younger woman, 24, 25, 26, 27, whatever, they may have came out of college and got a job where they have positions like that. They're still going to do right by black men, because if they're not already married, they got a father, and they're not going to do something that they know would embarrass their father. See, the black community moves very well when black women have men that they want to be accountable to. See, you don't run into the same kind of problems all the time when black women have black men that they believe they must be accountable to. Starts to work a whole lot smoother. All right. Now, I am going to say this, though. When you have these guys out here that believe the black woman is God, all right, that they believe black women should be in charge, when they believe that as a group of people, we should be led by black women. And what does that really mean? That means we'll never be in position to challenge anybody else. And there's a lot of people that just simply dig that. They may not want to come out and say that, but they like the world being that way. They like the world being that way. Well, how do you surpass anybody as a group of people? How do you surpass people if people are good with that? And even those fake people, even the fake pro-blacks who keep talking about what we need to do, even they acknowledge that in order to get stuff done, you have men in competition with other men. Yet they want the woman to be in charge. Folks find ways to do a lot of mental gymnastics out there. They find ways to do a lot of mental gymnastics. Now, the thing is, these thoughts are pushed by women. Not that you ain't gonna have some men that's gonna agree with it and do it. That's why I said, y'all, it's 2 major factions of black people. You have black men who are respectable, productive, and functional, who believe in black men's leadership, the wives that we're married to, and the children that are raised in our homes. And if you're not one of those, you're part of a dysfunctional, anti-family, single mother black community, where you believe the white man should be in charge. And I think a lot of black people got to start recognizing white supremacy amongst black people, because it's heavy with the women. And it's in the men too, because we're raised to be white supremacists. And then as a man, it's your job to change your position. Now, men will change their positions a lot earlier, because once they start paying attention to how white supremacy doing them dirty specifically, it's a little bit easier to change your thought process about how you're going to handle these things. But it's still a real thing at the end of the day. It's still a very, very, very real thing. And when it comes down to it, when it comes down to it, it's on you. Can't nobody else change your mindset for you. You got to do that for yourself. You got to do it for yourself. Okay. Shout out to Inspired True Broadcast. He said we are at odds with white supremacy, the women who support it, and the panda bears that support those women. It's a trifecta. Well, the thing is, we got to see it as they all the same group. You know, that's my thing. I see them all in the same group. I don't even see them as a separate group of people. They all the same group. You know, maybe it's factions of a group. You know, you can have the A section, the B section, and the C section, but they all the same group of people. That's how I look at it. They all the same group of people. Ain't nothing different about them. You know, you got a white man who believes in white supremacy. Okay, cool. Then you got a black woman who believes in white supremacy. Same team. Same team. If you got a black man that believes in white supremacy, you know, because when you have those kind of women, you start producing those kind of men. That's the unfortunate part. Again, men may move away from it a lot earlier because once they figure out how stuff is so opposing to them and they start to catch a real clue about what's going on in the world and see that all that stuff their mama and them was talking about when they was a kid was a bold-faced lie. You know, it's a little bit easier for him to change his position. But now if the women, you know, surround you enough with nonsense, you may not change your position. You may be, as a man, still be dealing with these stupid thoughts, and you might be 45, 50 years old because the women done had you surrounded the whole time, and they make sure you ain't going nowhere. You know? And then they use your own nature against you because they know you like women. So just to let you be around them, it's seeming like a reward to you. And because that reward is enough for you, because you don't really want that much, that reward is enough for you, you're going to keep the mess going. You know? So now, the thing is, yes, there's other groups of people who help white supremacy. But are they going to really be able to keep it going without the assistance of black women? Now, you know, I just talked about those 106,000 jobs that black women lost. And it can't, as I researched more into it, it turns out that was just April. Okay. Now we know at this particular point, in this particular year of 2025, we got over 300,000 jobs lost by black women. Okay. Over 300,000 jobs lost by black women. And some people see that as an issue. Of course, there are some black women seeing it as an issue. And I don't know why people didn't see something like that coming once Trump started saying the stuff that he was going to do. He definitely made his presence known the very first day he was in office. Whether you believe in his decisions or you are against his decisions, Trump ain't really been hiding nothing. So I don't know why people didn't start to make some moves. If they had true concerns about losing a job, you know, I would have started making a move, looking for something else to do, or I'm going to make a decision. Or I'm just going to ride this all the way out and I ain't going to trip. You know, because I can understand a person making a decision. Well, I'm just going to ride it out. You know, I'm going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off. And I'm just going to deal with it when I got to deal with it. And if I get fired and I can get on some unemployment for a while, I'm going to chill on my unemployment. Then once the unemployment runs out, I'm going to get out there and give me something else. There's different things you could have done. But black women are trying to make some noise to make it seem like there's an attack on black women from an employment standpoint. I don't necessarily believe it was. I just think if you're going to attack quote unquote DEI, you know, which is all type of affirmative action positions and things like that. If you're going to attack that, you know, if you want to get rid of that, get that out of the government, then I just say, well, you know, a lot of black women are going to take positions. They're going to have something to do with that. Some folks are going to work in a department where the whole department was quote unquote DEI. And you got to be realistic. Anything that they say DEI is going to include, anything that we fought for as far as civil rights are concerned, not that we got what we wanted. The government gave us what they wanted us to have, but it's going to include all that stuff. you know, and you got black folks upset, you know, and they think, hey, we lost something as black people. We weren't the ones really benefiting off that stuff, you know. So, you know, to me, it's kind of chuckle worthy because it's like when I knew that stuff was gonna go, that wasn't gonna affect black folks like that. Now I do understand it would affect black women, but what black women were gonna really be affected by that? Probably a bunch of single black women. Okay. Some of them will be mothers, some of them are not gonna be mothers, but it's gonna be probably a bunch of single black women. You probably don't have a bunch of married black women in those positions. I'm not gonna say it's not any, but the vast majority of black women who got fired this year, I'm pretty sure the vast majority of them are single. Now, that's an easy thing to guess because the vast majority of black women aren't even married. So, you know, what's the chances that it wasn't a bunch of single black women? And if you are a single black woman, you're not part of my community because I'm in the community with the men who are respectable, productive, functional, and believe in black men's leadership, our wives, and the children that live in our homes. So if you're a single black woman and you don't live with your daddy, you couldn't be one of us anyway. You know? So there are some people who say that those are real concerns, and I still don't see how. I'm just gonna keep it real. I still don't see how. Yeah, I try to be. Well, I ain't gonna even say I try, because once I believe in the principle, I just try to rock with the principle. So I don't even see it as an issue. It's like the same way I tell y'all when it comes to the illegal immigrants, anybody removing them, I don't see as an issue because they're just not citizens. I have nothing against foreign people, but you're not supposed to have stuff you're not supposed to have stuff that's supposed to belong to an American. Okay? I don't mind America helping folks who come over here and they come in the right way because America does have a process for immigrants to become one of us. We have a naturalization process. Now, why people don't use that naturalization process, I have no clue. I haven't heard that it was just so difficult to do. And they say they let you live here and work here while you're going through the process. So I don't get what the big deal is. I just don't know. All right. I probably would care more about it if I was a foreigner trying to get into this country. I probably would care more about it. But I don't see what the big deal is because I know we got a process. So I don't get why a bunch of people don't want to just do the process. Now, somebody may say to me, well, the process could be expensive. You talking to a black man in America. You think I don't know about expensive? You think I ain't had to get past stuff being expensive? Something being expensive is not an excuse. We still got to do it anyway. So you really can't tell me about expensive like it's supposed to matter. Because it don't seem to matter when it's black man. So why would I have a concern when it's a non-black man? Okay. Shout out to Ryan Decipher. Ryan Decipher said, I partially agree. These are real concerns. These concerns are not concerning to us. Well, yeah, somebody concerned about it. It's somebody out there who concerned about it because I see certain folks trying to push a narrative and they really want some black men to come aboard with their narrative. And hey, I can appreciate the fact that you want us to be a part of it. I can appreciate it. That don't mean it's gonna make sense to me. It don't mean that. Okay, it don't mean that at all. It's gonna make sense. Now, shout out to Inspired Truth Broadcast. I appreciate the super chat, my bro. Excuse me. I appreciate the Cash App, y'all. He hit me with the $5 Cash App. Appreciate you. Okay. Now, there's interesting things that go on, and you got all these sisters losing jobs, And my thing is this, y'all. Sometimes people got to learn to be grateful. It's only 300,000 right now. You got around 24 million black women, something like that. It's only like 300,000. It's not even a million that lost a job. Now I understand it might be tough on that particular person, But overall, as a group, is that really a huge concern from a group dynamic? It's a huge concern from a personal dynamic. That I get. I do get that. Okay, y'all. I told y'all before, my daddy told me a long time ago, you are in a recession when your friends start losing their jobs. You are in a depression when you lose yours. So I do believe you got some black women out there who are going through their own personal depression. But I am going to say, if you got around 24 million black women in this country and only 300,000 lost their job, you're still doing pretty well. You know, we may act like it's death and destruction, but if only 300,000 lost a job, you're still doing pretty well. Now, would there be some more job losses in the future? Possibly. Okay. And there are some people who really believe that black women are just going to start going to men and act right because they lost a job. I don't believe any of those women who lost a job this year over some DEI issue is going to do anything different and then act right for black men. I don't think those things are truly connected. I don't think they're going to be that desperate enough while also not being so prideful. I don't think none of that's coming at the end of the day, you know. And I don't think black men should be concerned with those women either, because I don't see how they would be helpful to you. And that's just real talk. I just don't see how they would be helpful to you. You know. Now the thing is, black women do a lot of what white supremacy wants. So to hear that 300,000 black women lost a job, it didn't really cause a concern for me. But I will say this. That's probably at least 250,000 black women who won't be able to make problems for black men, at least temporarily. Okay? If 300,000 black women lost a job of some kind, that's probably at least 250,000 black women who fell out of position to cause problems for black men. You know, think about that. All right. At least 250,000, and that might be still a conservative estimate. But I think about 250,000 black women lost a position where they're going to be able to really cause problems for black men in some kind of way. You know, or the type of problems they could cause are a lot lesser now because they got too much other stuff to worry about at this moment. Okay. Now, I'm not saying they ain't going to be begging black men for stuff, but that's up to you if you give it to them. If they beg for it, they can beg. Now, if you give it to them, that's on you. If you give them some help, I hope you're giving it for a good reason that you're satisfied for. Okay. I hope you're getting something out the deal that's worth it to you. But that's about probably at least 250,000 black women who ain't going to be causing problems for black men, at least for a while. So how do I see that as a problem? Okay. When you start putting things together and you pay attention to how life works, the way somebody thinks you're supposed to look at something don't necessarily match how you should look at something. Okay. Now, as a black man, 0 women lost a job who are going to take care of me. 0 women lost a job who's going to take care of me. Truth be told, because of how black women help white supremacy and how this country is so white supremacist in the first place and how it's part of the packaging of this country. It's been here from the inception of this country and previous versions of this country. 0 amount of women lost a job that's probably going to help me. They say 300,000 lost these jobs this year. Well, I'm pretty sure 0 women who would have helped me have lost a job. I'm pretty sure 0 women have lost a job that were going to actually be helpful to any black man. Okay. I'm pretty sure that more than likely. Now, I'll say this. If I had to take a guess for real, maybe 10,000 black women lost a job that even want what's best for black men. Maybe 10,000 black women lost a job that even wants what's best for black men. So it's hard for me to see it as a loss because I don't see where people who are on my side even lost anything. I'm not going to tell you I believe that the average woman who lost a job of the 300,000 were helpful to black men in the first place. Possibly 10,000 of them was really rocking with us. If you want to go more than that, maybe 20,000 was married and on our side. But I don't think most of that 300,000, not that I've been able to check, I don't even know why I would check to see a marriage status on the people who lost a job. But I don't believe for half a second that we lost any significant amount of women who are actually on black men's side in that 300,000 being lost. So it's hard for me to see it as an issue. You know, if my enemies lost a job, why would I care? That's like, you might as well told me 300,000 white men lost a job. I think I would get the same effect, same effect, because I don't think they ride with us like that anyway. So I just didn't see it as a big deal. And that's just real talk. But I do have a gentleman joining the panel, so I'm going to let him get the mic. We MVP, Michelle Obama. You have the floor, sir. You have the floor.
I just wanted to help out a little bit. I just want to put the name to the MVPs. So first, gentlemen, I would like to mention the first MVP, Michelle Obama, born 1964. In 2017, became the first African-American first lady. And in 2020, she won the award for the diabolical move of calling herself a single mother on national TV. Also, she gets the MVP, but not only doing that, but started a podcast show talking about how she's super attractive to white men. Next, we have all NBA first team Jada Pinkett Smith. Jada Pinkett Smith gets honorable mention for the diabolical move of sleeping with her son's friend who was on antidepressants, then got on Red Table Talk in front of her husband and the whole world and said that 17-year-old boy made him feel better than Will Smith, an icon. Then she did the dastardly move of having his kids write letters to her dead boyfriend Tupac Shakur. And rounding out, that's the power forward position. At shooting guard, we have Stacey Abrams. Right? Stacey Abrams take the diabolical move of blaming black men every time she can't win this governor race. Right? And to round out our last four, we got Beyonce mom, who dumped her husband, then dated another celebrity, then did the dastardly move of going on the Oprah show saying he ain't SHIT. In that center, I don't know how tall she is, but this woman has done the unspeakable. Talking about dead black men and making them the face of predators. The one and only, the mega MVP, legendary Oprah Winfrey. And these is your MVP teams of white supremacy. The diabolical five. So, Roger, I agree with you. Without these four ladies, white supremacy would never thrive the way it does.
Boy, you got a way of presenting stuff.
Right. So, forgot. 6th Woman of the Year, Gayle King. The Kobe comments. Having Kobe's friend on air try to get this woman to make him sound like he's a predator while he died. Diabolical. And when Snoop Dogg said something, she sicked Ann Rice, her dog, on Snoop and made him apologize. Definitely Sixth Man of the Year of white supremacy.
Yeah. Now, y'all, this stuff could sound crazy, but if you actually think about it, I think brothers and really everybody else just started saying, well, can white supremacy survive without black women?
Hell
Because
no.
at the end of the day, you want more docile men being produced. Now, I'm not going to say the brother on the video ain't a productive guy. He probably is. Probably a very productive guy. But even if you're a productive man and you believe black women should be in charge, how do you help take your race to a different level? Because you really can't. It's like a waste of being productive, a waste of being respectable, or a waste of being functional. Because you're not going to use any of it to get your group to push forward in any kind of way once you believe that women are supposed to run the show. And I'm not going to act like there ain't productive black men or respectable black men or functional black men who aren't part of this anti-family dysfunctional single mother community, because they got some over there too. They got far too many of them, truth be told. And a lot of them, they real problem is simply they don't believe in black men's leadership. Yet they complain that other black men need to do stuff, but they don't like them being the leaders of whatever the stuff it is that they do. Go ahead,
Roger. But the one thing I'm gonna have to disagree with you about not worrying about them not having jobs. You know the saying, idle hands is the devil's playground?
Mm-hmm. I definitely do.
Now you took away white supremacists 9 to 5 busy hour. Now you just gave these women extra hours to just think about how to ruin black niggas' lives. So I agree with you that hey, their job wasn't going to help me. But free time is a dangerous thing to these women. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think that's a very interesting point that should be considered. Okay, I got my main man Shark Sims here, so I'm gonna go ahead and give him the mic. What's going on, Shark?
Peace, hot sauce. How y'all doing? I mean, Michelle Obama, etc. How y'all doing?
Michelle Obama, because she's the king.
Now, yo, you broke that down crazy, B. You know, I'm gonna make that my NBA live team. Rename all of that shit. But
you ain't gonna never lose. You ain't gonna never lose.
Never lose. But honestly, Roger, you I think you're absolutely right. You got a good point with that. Like they do. That's what they represent. Now, my question is, you know what today is, right?
No, it's our anniversary. What are we talking about? I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, today is the anniversary of Lovey versus Virginia.
I was joking talking about what the day is, and it is an anniversary.
Today is the anniversary of Lovey versus Virginia. I think that was in 47, right? They ain't never messed with us.
Yeah.
I think I was 22. I could be retired right now if it wasn't for a black woman.
You want to give any context to that?
I had a good state job. I had a good. It was a cool young black dude. You know what I mean? He was older than me. Cool black dude hired me. I worked my behind off to get the job. He quit. He got a new position, and a black woman took his position. Don't you know? After she got in that position, the whole crew got kicked up out of there. State job, everything. They don't mess with you, especially black American women. It's not they look good. They got big butts or whatever, but they don't mess with you. And I want to give a big shout out to Uru because He really woke me up on that on Monday's show. Like, yeah, just leave them alone because they're your enemy. And what I told you before, all of them 300,000 jobs that everybody complaining about, I haven't seen one sophisticated looking black woman complaining on TikTok. All of them is bonnets and all that. I told you, those jobs that Trump cut was the jobs that people get when they get on welfare and public assistance, because you just can't not work in doing that stuff, getting those benefits. That's who got cut. It ain't the chick that work in the bank. It ain't the chick that work at the pharmacy. It ain't none of them chicks. It's the bird heads. And like Hasso said, that's the last person you want with all the time on their hands.
And I'm gonna say, y'all, shout out to Black Uru who knew it right offhand. He said 67. I just looked up the Loving versus Virginia case, and it says the end date was June 12th, 1967. So well, yes, it is our anniversary.
No, it ain't our anniversary. It's their anniversary.
Who was alive back then? So it doesn't really count.
Wait, who was alive back then?
No, 1967.
That nigga was alive back then. Him and
you say that's how he could pull it up like that? Yeah, well, I mean,
you probably would. Yeah, 67. Yeah.
Yeah.
You ask me some shit I was alive for, I'll tell you too.
Nah, I get you. I get you. That's for sure. I get you there. So
just kidding.
I mean, he probably was alive in 67. Probably.
He was on junior varsity back then.
No, he definitely he should have been alive in 67.
Yeah,
he definitely.
And another thing, Roger, don't trust no nigga with hair long enough to sit on their lap.
That's crazy right there. That's crazy. But y'all, my thing is this. White supremacy is a thing. It is a part of the Black community, which, I don't think people truly acknowledged it very much. But it is part of the Black community, and it's pushed in the Black community. And I think now that you have so many homes where men are not raising children, it's just coming out more and more where it's harder to see that it ain't part of the Black community in a lot of ways. Because that dysfunctional single mother community, they hold white supremacy at a very high level. The only way you can have a school to prison pipeline is you got to get some parents to agree with their school to prison pipeline. So now you got all these fathers not raising their children, which means the parents are just women. So yeah, you can have a school to prison pipeline. How can you not if the women who are having the children are white supremacists at the end of the day? And I know people be like, y'all, you may say that so much, or you pushing something. Nah, I mean, y'all, I come from 2 + 2 been equaling 4. Yeah. And you can do different combinations to get the 4. You can do 1 + 3, it's still gonna get you 4. Things didn't change just because they changed how they go about it. When you do something to get a particular result, I got to look at what's the result you're aiming for. The result you're aiming for, a lot of times will tell me what the intent was. And that's just reality.
And did you see the difference in the chicks that was comparing the thing? Like the one chick sitting in there with the sunglasses in the perm, and then the other chick looked like she might have been part of the NOI.
Yeah, but I want to push back on something real quick. I don't think it's not the assistance of Black women, because the Black woman is the MVP. Like, they're the MVP, right? I mean, Jerry Buss owned the team, but Magic and Kareem won the championship. And Michelle Obama, MVP Michelle Obama, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Gayle King and Oprah Winfrey, they doing the thing, right? They have done more damage to Black men than Reconstruction has done, in my humble opinion.
No, that's a good point, bro.
So they not assistants MVP in this shit.
Wait, but who's the coach? Because you named the players, but who's the coach though?
Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson, the coach of Michelle Obama and all of them.
Yeah, he's on the team you put together.
Yeah, the team you put together.
On the team I have no idea. Just some white man that nobody knows, probably.
The protected white man. They're gonna protect his identity.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we got
David Duke is the coach.
All right, we do have Black Guru here, so I don't want to keep him waiting too long. Let's let him get the mic. Black Guru, you got it, my brother.
Hey, I was just joking. I was just joking. Also, just to let you know that I was just joking.
You know, it's interesting the points you guys. Well, the one woman, she basically was announcing herself to be a traitor. You know, that's basically what she was saying. You know, when a white man favors a black woman, he's favoring her for a number of reasons. He's favoring her for a clandestine sexual liaison. He's favoring her because he knows she's going to be extra loyal to him, super loyal to him. She's not going to be a threat to him in terms of competing for his position and power. Quite the opposite. If anything, she's going to be the super steward of his ascent. She's going to be the power behind the throne, or the voice to the power behind the throne. You know, and of course she's a well-placed saboteur of the interests of other black people, especially and certainly black men. So of course, if I'm a white man, I'm going to favor, especially if she is talented and smart and pretty. Oh, you're damn sure I'm going to favor every black girl around. A little extra little piece of hot black tail, running around, do whatever I tell her to do, sell out anybody for my interest, not any sort of threat to what I'm doing. No, they're the perfect employee for white men. So of course she favors white men, as do a lot of it.
Yeah, I think that's something that you know, it's just something that black men need to realize, and that's why I've said that when it come down to it, it's a lot of the reason that black women get jobs. They you know, part of them getting job is having access to white men. Another part of them getting job, and a major part of them getting job, is not listening to you because you a nigga and they don't listen to niggas. You know, and it doesn't make a difference what you feel about yourself. I'm talking about how they think of you. You know, and it's just a reality. You know, we were talking yesterday about, well, maybe the day before, whatever it was, but you know, you got women who don't want to be stay-at-home mothers. They don't make enough money to justify going out working. When you start looking at how much money they lose to pay out for all these different child services or any other services they may have to pay for to have somebody else mother their child. So it's not really about the child's best interest at all. It's just about what they want to do. And a lot of them, you know, they don't want to mother their children, you know, and I'm pretty sure that's because they believe white men don't necessarily want them to mother their children. And then when it comes to black men, you know, black women say a whole lot of stuff about black men not being there. But the truth is, they don't want them there. You know, that's just a reality of what's been going on in this country. Black women don't want black men there. What is the main reason a black man isn't raising his own child? Black women. You know, it's been that way for a long time, but people just don't come out and say it like that because we've been trained to protect the black woman's image. And as I've told y'all plenty of times before, the most important thing to a black woman is her image. It ain't her children. You can say it should be her children. You know, I'm gonna say even for a certain amount of them, because I ain't gonna put this on all of them, but you do have a certain minority amount of them with husbands, and the husband ain't even their main interest, which is sad. You know, a lot of them get married for bogus reasons. And go ahead.
I will say this. There's some complexity about black women, particularly in business. If she is a married mother of sons, and if it's clear she loves her husband and loves her son, and you will learn this pretty quickly if you've spent time around them. If she loves her husband and kind of dotes on her son, she will probably be the best advocate you'll have in that business. It definitely translates over into her dealings with all men, because she see you as her husband. She see you as her son if he's older than you. So because I personally have had this experience, some of the best advocates and some of the worst adversaries I've had in business have been Black women. And that was usually the profile. If she was an older Black woman, if she had been married or widowed and she had sons, it was not nothing she would not do for me. Nothing she would not do. She was my greatest advocate. But if she was some single mama type or never married, whatever, maybe childless or whatever, God help you. God help you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say shout out to V in the chat. V says they are not the threat. And I'm gonna say you're right. They're not the threat. They are promise. That's what they are. They promise to destroy anything you're trying to build. That's not a threat. It's a promise. It ain't they saying idle stuff. They gonna carry it out. You know. Now I don't know what you mean by they not the threat, because anybody who's trying to hurt you is the threat. You're not. If you got into it with a mob, and the mob sends the quote unquote peons to come get you, well, it might be the mob boss who told them to come get you. So you gonna tell me the mob boss ain't the threat? No, you might look at the mob boss and say, yeah, the mob boss is the threat. But the peons that's coming to get you, are they not the threat? Because even though they're following what the mob boss said, they still the ones coming to get you. Are they not the threat?
Remember there was a video circling around about a couple of months ago. And it was, I don't know if we ever really saw who the woman was, because I think it was just an audio. I don't know if we ever saw the video, or at least I don't recall seeing the video. And remember how the woman was explaining how there's all this secret sex between Black men, between Black women and white men. You all remember that video?
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you remember the video?
Yeah, I remember.
What she describing in particular is not unique to this environment. But what she's alluding to largely is what happened in these business and corporate environments, particularly with these relationships between white, bosses or supervisors or managers and Black female subordinates. That woman, in my view, was telling on herself in terms of how she gets down in business. She was basically saying she was saying she was fucking white guys for come on. That's how I interpret what she was saying. Now, they're not going to say that, but you have to kind of put the pieces together. And so when you hear some Black woman, he freely admits there's a whole lot of secretive fucking going on. Well, what don't you think is very likely happening in these business relationships, particularly when the white man is in some senior boss position over these bras? How often do we see Black women filing sexual harassment cases against white men in these environments? Almost never. So when I was hearing her saying, I was just hearing her say she was a bust down for her white boss for a come up. That's what I heard.
No, I definitely would agree with that, and I don't think
the same thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and that's been my position for a long time. And I even shared with y'all. I think one of the reasons that a lot of Black women get jobs is just to have access to white men, because a lot of them, they from the hood. I ain't saying it ain't Black people with some money, but a lot of us are still coming out of impoverished situations. They don't really have access to white men. You didn't go to school with them. You was going to school.
Don't put it. That's an incomplete presentation of what's happening. You have that element of it. You also had these Black suburban girls who went to high school, elementary school and high school with these white boys. And they spent their whole life trying to get their own Justin Bieber. So I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. That's an element of it. But especially in these corporate environments, especially in these come up positions where they do have the degrees, where they do have the masters, all that kind of stuff. A lot of them are suburban Black girls. They are not Keisha off the block. They are Denise out of Olympia Fields.
No, I mean I definitely agree with that. The Keisha off the block is just one section of them at the end of the day, and they've been trying to get this for a long time, because It's a few of them that we don't pay attention to because they've been messing with the few white men available in the hood. You know, if the white guy owned the corner store and come in from time to time, that's how she'll gain access. Now, all of them don't gain access to that one particular guy, but yeah, those are just different sectors. So I definitely agree with that as well. Now, I'm gonna say shout out to V again. V said I was saying to the white man, which is why they are pitted against us. Well, V, this is the thing. I understand that thought process. A lot of guys have that thought process. They say, well, you know, it's the white man that got them against us. The white man don't control them. They're against us because they don't like us, bro. It ain't the white man. The white man did everything he did. Are you anti-black? Because if you're not anti-black and the white man still did all the stuff that he did, then you should ask yourself a legitimate question. Then how come she anti-black? Because he did the same thing. We live in the same country. Why do black women have an excuse and we don't? That don't make sense to me. You know, it is what it is at the end of the day. A white man can try to use whatever he can to influence, which they do. They put it in the education system. They put it in movies. They put it in television shows. They put it in magazines. They do it in books and all that type of stuff. Yeah, all that's very true. But at the end of the day, as a person, you get the final say so. So if you're 18 years old, I can't say the white man has you pitted against me. You decide for yourself to be against me. That's your decision. Now, I can tell you how the white man could have helped influence your decision, but it's still your decision at the end of the day. You know, let's not be confused about this stuff, y'all. Have y'all ever slapped somebody? Because I have. When I slapped somebody, it wasn't just because somebody influenced me to do it. I slapped them because I wanted them slapped. You know, I could blame it on somebody else. I can blame it on social conditions or something like that. But no, that particular person pissed me off to the point that I just felt that however this goes down, I need them slapped. So I slapped them. I can't blame nobody else for me slapping a person. I made that final decision to just go ahead and slap. That was me. Now you can talk about how I was raised, or you can say with your parents' influence. I didn't slap folks as a grown man. I made that decision. Nobody pushed me into making that decision. That was just the decision I came to at the time. So no, it wasn't somebody else's fault. That was me. So if it's my fault for slapping somebody, and that should be easy for people to register because I'm a dude, then how you can't register a woman doing everything she doing as an adult? That is her decision. See, we can't have it both ways. We can't say women are autonomous, but they ain't making no decisions. If they can control their own minds and control their own bodies, I can't blame other people for what they're doing as grown folks. As children, sure, I blame other people when children are involved. I do. I blame parenting and influence and all kinds of stuff, mostly parenting. But when you're an adult, I don't blame your parents anymore. I even said earlier, the guy that's in the video, I'm pretty sure he was raised probably in a single mother home. I'm pretty sure he probably hang out in these groups of people that pretend they pro-blacks, but they really anti-male. I'm pretty sure that's his background just off what I see about him. But I don't blame them because he's an adult at this point. So when we gonna hold women accountable for what they do? Why we always got to look for somebody else to be at fault for what a black woman did? I don't get that.
Because with men, that's black women.
I could understand blaming her husband. I can get that. But if she ain't got no husband, how am I gonna blame a man for what she did? I don't get it. Like there's a disconnect we have in these situations, and that ain't gonna do nothing but help white supremacy progress. Real talk. I ain't got to blame white men for what some grown black woman did. She did that because that's what she wanted. And that's why I keep telling y'all, they like being white supremacists. If you look at their behavior, you can't tell me they dislike white supremacy. You don't hate something, but you always trying to help it grow. That I don't buy into that one. You can't tell me you hate basketball, but every time you get a free moment, you at the basketball court. You can't tell me you hate gambling, but every time you get some money in your pocket, you over there at the casino. I don't believe you. There is a saying about actions speak louder than words. So I think they like white supremacy. I think they love white supremacy. And I think one of the reasons they have such an affinity for white men, because white men are in charge of white supremacy. Just is what it is. You could think it's because, people be like, well, Brad Pitt is a very attractive man. That's why black women like him so much. You can believe that if you want to. I don't think they like Brad Pitt because he's an attractive man. I'm not going to say he's not an attractive man. I've been hearing Brad Pitt been attractive since I was a kid. I'm pretty sure. He's been in the business a long time. But no, I think black women love Brad Pitt because he is a representation of the group of men who are supposed to be in charge of white supremacy. That's why they love him. Because I've never seen a black woman have much of an issue with any white man. And I've looked for it, and I ain't found it yet. And that's just real talk, Now, V is backstage, y'all. So I don't know V, but V gets to have an opinion too, and he can voice his reasons and things like that. So V, I'm gonna bring you up in one moment, and then I got to make sure it's actually you. So I got to get to know you to know that it is you. So we're gonna have V get the floor right now. V, what's going on? You got it, my brother. Welcome to the show.
Hey, appreciate it, my man. Appreciate it. Hey, what's up, good peoples? Yeah.
How you doing, V?
Hey, welcome aboard.
No,
Welcome aboard.
hey, thanks, thank you. Yeah, no, I agree with everything, man. So I think the way that the words was actually coming through the chat, maybe it came off as a misunderstanding. So when I said that they are not the threat, I was speaking in regards to at the moment or the segment where you're speaking about in regards to white men and them being selected. And I was saying they are selected because they are not the threat. And actually, we would be more so the threat to them instead of the black woman. So that's where I was actually coming from in regards to that.
Okay,
So,
that
but no,
makes sense.
I agree with everything.
Okay, well, yeah. See, now we can. Yeah, sometimes you can have a little bit of a miscommunication when you're between the chat and then the folks talking and all the real time situations. Okay, so what you're saying makes all the sense in the world to me. But I'm cool to even about the misunderstanding because that allowed me to say what I just said, which a lot of people need to really hear from time to time or be reminded of. And I do think that's something that black men really do. Now, trust me, y'all, I know black women will start saying black men are white supremacists too, because I tell y'all, all they do is just copy what we say, and it's that's just what they do. But when you start looking at stuff and you look at behavior and you look at who's in charge of their behavior, and we as men, all of us, I'm sure listening under the sound of my voice right now, whether you hear live or you hear it on the replay, I'm pretty sure every man understands he's in control of himself. And because we have that understanding that we are in control of we are in control of ourselves, I think we need to just get our ego out the way and just accept that black women are in control of themselves. Every one of them did it because they wanted to do it. Even that negative stuff they did to you. When they called the police on you and you ain't do nothing to them, she didn't do it because she didn't know no better. No, she did it because she see you as a nigga and she need some nigga checkers to come over there and check you. That's what that was for. Now she could say, well, I was mad. I was mad don't mean you call somebody in to check a nigga. I'm referring to the police, but for her it was a nigga checker. I need somebody to come check this nigga. I want this nigga around so I can benefit off of him in a certain way, but I need this nigga in check. So I'm going to call the nigga checkers to check this nigga so he'll understand what time it is. That wasn't a condition of society. No, that was her desire. She just used things available in society to achieve the desire she wanted. But it was her desire from Jump Street. It is what it is. Now, I know that's rough for some folks, especially from a mental standpoint, but it is what it is. That's why I use the example of me slapping somebody. Because ain't nobody here would blame somebody else about Roger slapping somebody. Y'all gonna blame Roger. Y'all gonna be, well, you can't say your daddy made you do it. Well, I was, I'm 25 years old, and you gonna let me blame my daddy that I slapped somebody? You wouldn't let me get away with it. So you got to start looking at women in the same manner. They do what they want to do because that's what they want done. So why do black women participate in white supremacy so much? Because they love it. That's my thing. They love it.
It's the illusion of power that's given to them.
Well, I mean, once I found out, and I think this is an image thing, because sometimes an image gets in your head and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I'm gonna say shout out to black men being brutally honest, who put me up on the game that black women were so foul that they was even having sex with the KKK and send the KKK to go bother their own husband.
Yeah, they was the first house niggas. You know that, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, I never thought about that concept like on its own. It made sense when I heard it, but I never thought about it. So now, when you put that image in your head, you just can't knock that out. You know what I'm saying? We know the KKK was bothering people, but to hear that part of the reason they was bothering certain individuals was because some black woman went to them, had sex with them, and said, go get my husband. That's crazy work right there. I mean, that's crazy work. Hey, y'all, let me come have sex with y'all real quick. Probably run a train on me or something. And once y'all done, go get my husband in check.
Yep, diabolical.
Well,
I mean, but you know what I mean?
I'll tell you something else that I know is going on. A lot of Negroes are getting knocked up because cops are fucking they women, and the women are telling on them. They fucking the DAs, or assistant DAs, or people within the department and law enforcement. A lot of it, I mean, it's basically just sort of the modern version of what you're talking about, because essentially the police are effectively the KKK for the modern community, the black community. So you basically have a very similar thing that's going on today. Brother doing some stuff, so to speak, and then he conveniently get caught up. Who you think ratting him out? Who you think know all his business? Who you think know his text messages and all that kind of stuff?
And this is the sad part, Black Oro. Sometimes they kill a boy, the guy they done known for years, the guy who done came up with them. They was in high school together, dropped out, got into a drug gang. They've been in it 15 years, and he got to kill his own homie. Talking about, nigga, you was the only one that knew where the stash was. Not paying any attention to the fact that your girl know where the stash was.
You go. You stash at her house. You even using her house as a stash spot.
Yep. And you done took your own boy out.
No way. You get grabbed up at your favorite rib joint out of nowhere. How the hell cops know? This is my favorite rib joint on Cicero.
Not the rib joint. Not at the rib joint.
How the hell they know that? Who told them that?
You in bookings with barbecue sauce on your shirt.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think a lot of these brothers are getting caught? A lot of them are getting ratted out by these so-called women. And a lot of it includes those women fucking the cops, fucking the assistant district attorneys, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna say shout out to Landon. He say, where did you get the sex with the KKK story? Nah, brother, that's something that black men being brutally honest. That's some of the research he was doing. He looked into it and he put that story out there. I didn't know it until that happened. But I mean, brother, be real with yourself. Is that something impossible to believe? Like, how is that not easy to accept? And I'm not saying you're not accepting. It's just that when you ask the question, it's almost like you ask the question because it's hard to believe that black women would have sex with members of the KKK. When did you see a white supremacist have issues with a random black woman? When did they ever have problems with them? In the social media world, think about How many white men got caught being racist and had a black girlfriend or wife? Think about that.
Look, man, there are videos now with black women traveling around and nuzzle up under white supremacists and stuff like that. And you're probably making videos of doing the pictures of black women at Klan rallies and stuff like that. That's not an unusual thing, man. That is not an unusual thing. Where have you been?
Now let me get a mic quickly to Sherazad Ali was right.
Hey, what's going on, brothers? Happy Thursday.
How you doing, brother? I was taking a chance. I'm like, this got to be somebody we know. I was taking a chance.
Yeah, I'm using her because I'm gonna tell you this.
Hold on. Wait. Well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you. And I'm using her today because she was right 35 years ago when she released that book. It was all the rage and anger among black women and everything else. Whenever she was on Phil Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, and Geraldo Rivera, all these black women were terrified when she released that book 35 years ago. I mean, and I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm glad you're doing this subject right here, Roger, because let me tell you what's getting ready to happen right now. A lot of these black women are losing their minds right now. They've been losing their minds, going on TikTok and everything else, talking about how they're not being appreciated now under this administration. Some of them are still crying after Kamala Harris lost the election. Now, let me tell you something. Black women were in such a high once Joe Biden was president. And it was just going skyrocket and everything else when we were pushing this divestment thing. You don't need a black man. All black men are dusty. And it became a big cash grab, for some of these black women, to go up there and find yourself a white man. I don't care if he's raggedy. I don't care if he's a white supremacist and all that type of stuff, because black men ain't ish and everything else. Then when Donald Trump becomes president and everything else, these so-called spoilers decide to become pro-black and all that type of stuff. And I'm gonna tell you something. Some of these black women who all of a sudden become pro-black and everything else, you need to be very careful about that, because they'll turn your backs on you in a minute and everything else once they get something going on, offering behind closed doors from a white supremacist, leftist person from the Democratic Party. That's who's really been the one that's been pushing all this agenda and everything else. They've been doing this for the last 60 years. I will argue too, to my brother who has Michelle Obama, I will argue that the one woman who
MVP Michelle Obama, MVP.
I would argue Alice Walker. I would put Alice Walker in there. She was an agent of the white supremacists and everything else, pushing the color purple and everything else, depicting Danny Glover as this abusive black man. And as this abusive black man and everything else. So Alice Walker, in my opinion, should be added on that list and everything else.
Oh no, so, Alice Walker is kind of the equivalent of what's his name, who was with Phil Jackson, the assistant coach. The guy who basically created the triangle offense.
Tex Winter.
Yeah. The assistant coach for Phil Jackson. He basically created the triangle offense for blackness.
No, well, I don't know who the coach is.
Innovator.
I think the coach would probably have to be academic, university. The coach would have to be universities teaching feminism and shit.
Terry McMillan, I should add too.
But what I'm saying is she is the innovator. She is, as Ali said, she's the emancipator.
Yeah, she was the one that pushed this divestment movement that way back in the back in the 60s and everything else because she couldn't get a black man and everything else.
No, who's the girl? Who's the woman that's like, "Ain't I a woman?" What's her
Wasn't that
name?
Sojourner Truth?
Sojourner Truth is the coach.
No, Sojourner Truth is Naismith, the creator of that.
Okay.
She's the creator.
She put up that first peach
She's
basket.
the creator of Black Man Hate. She's the originator.
All right, then Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks got to be the coach.
Oh, Bell Hooks was even worse. Bell Hooks, I would add Bell Hooks in there too because the way how she talked.
No, she's the coach. There you go. Bell Hooks is the coach. Shooting guard, Michelle Obama. Point guard, Jada Pinkett Smith. Power forward, the round mound. What's her name? Can't win shit.
Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams, right? At power forward, we got Gail King, and then at center, the trifling one of them all, Oprah Winfrey, and sixth man of the year, Rice.
All right, y'all. Let me get these in real quick. Let me get these in.
You mean Susan Rice? Susan Rice?
Yeah, Susan Rice, because what she did to Snoop Dogg.
All right,
yeah.
let me get these cash app in, y'all, real quick. Shout out to No Placeholder. He said, supporting Black men media. Appreciate you big time, my brother. Appreciate you big time. Shout out to Landon. Landon says, just because it's a devil, it doesn't excuse evil. Hey, real talk. Cause yeah, even the devil got to get punished. So that's real talk right there. I think that's actually kind of a profound statement when you think about it, y'all. Just because it's the devil, it doesn't excuse evil, and that's real as it get. That's real as it get. And also shout out to Robinson. He says for great reporting in Black male global issues. Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate that big time. Real talk. I appreciate that big time. And I'm gonna read this because it's a question from Ryan Decipher. Ryan says, question: When have Black women as a collective not been agents of white supremacy? Their foremothers was bought and sold for that very purpose. It seems by and large, nothing has changed in the present day. I'm gonna say the only time I really can say that Black women were not collectively agents of white supremacy, I hope that during Jim Crow, the collective of them was not agent for white supremacy. But to argue anything beyond that time is kind of asinine, if you ask me. If you know about the different periods, I just think collectively, hopefully during Jim Crow, it wasn't happening.
I think during that 10-year period, post Emancipation Civil War, before they basically started to institute Jim Crow, where you did have Black towns and schools, and Black men were, several Black senators, several Black U.S. senators. I think when Black men were allowed to really be community leaders, builders, somewhat uninterrupted or somewhat impeded, the women were kind of forced to submit to a certain degree. So I think during that Reconstruction, that sadly brief Reconstruction period after the Civil War, I think you probably had the most supportive Black women. But after they instituted Jim Crow and whatever, now you had Black women who were with Black men, but you had all this infrastructure of sabotage and treachery that was sort of imputed within it. They had the Black women working for them in their homes, day laboring, maid, and it sort of created a lot of these duplicitous relationships between Black people, and especially between Black men and Black women. You married a woman and you're trying to make a family, and y'all get pregnant, and then next thing you know, the child come out with red hair and freckles, and fuck. It's like, okay, now what do we do? I mean, so I would say during that it was, I guess, less than 10-year period after emancipation, or particularly after the Civil War, there was some degree of comedy between black men and black women because black men had more power over the situation, but sadly that period was way too brief.
I want to read this also by Ryan Decipher. He says, during Jim Crow, they didn't have a choice. Black women had to collaborate with black men to survive. Plus, during that time, they did not have access to white men via jobs. I used to believe that as well. And Ryan Decipher, I'm gonna say something I've said in the past. That's what, and even what I say earlier today, I hope during Jim Crow. Why do I say hope? Because it could have been a 50-50 situation because they didn't have choices.
That is not what really happened during Jim Crow, though. Because a lot of black women were working for, hold on, brother. There were a lot of black women who were working for white people during Jim Crow. In fact, one of the things that why you created Jim Crow was to force a sort of reinstitution of slavery, of sharecropping, gay laboring, maid and wet nursing their nasty children and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of black women were working with and were working for white people, especially in the South, were working for white people. That's where a lot of the treachery was happening, because you would have them very often, the only people who could get jobs very often were black women, which created a bad dynamic between black men and black women, because she's the only one who can earn a living. And so that sort of reinforces, what was already a treacherous situation, makes it even more treacherous, because she's the only one who supposedly is earning a dependable living. A lot of things that one of the things that broke up a lot of black families were the man having to travel around and work on the railroad or go places and stuff to try to get work, try to earn a living. Meanwhile, she got these white people, calling her Miss Katie, all this kind of bullshit, and she was a great wet nurse to the children, and whatever, what they call them, not nanny. That's what they call white one. What they call? What they call them?
Enchimamas?
No, mammy. That was the generic term. That was the generic term, mammy. She was the mammy to my children. We love her. We love our mammy, Miss Kate. That kind of bullshit. So that a lot of that, and then what also happened was, okay, now they're raising up daughters, and they like, well, we don't want, can't no man do nothing for you, or we don't want you doing this kind of work, so you don't do what no man tell you to do. Can't no black man do nothing for you. A lot of that treachery that we see today was a product of a continuing passing on of a lot of negative views and images that started way back when and became multi-generation.
And that's why I'm emphasizing, that's when I hope, because he asks about the collective of black women. And I don't know of a time that the collective of black women was truly on the black men's side. So all I can do is hope that during Jim Crow, it possibly happened as at least 50-50. That's what I just say. You can't really measure it out, so I just give him 50-50 credit. Did it really happen that way? Don't really know. I do know that there was some towns that, black people, black men built up some towns and had some women with them as wives or whatever. So I hope at least in those towns, it was kind of going on. But then those towns were consistently attacked by white people to make sure that we not on the same side at the end of the day. So that's all I can do is hope that at some point in time, the collective was actually with us, because I can't verify it. I don't think there's a time in America you can verify where black women were actually on black men's side.
I mean, you have to be careful not to speak in absolute. everything is degrees and situational. I mean, obviously, to the extent that you have black men who really have control over their environment, really have control over their food production, for example, really have access to transportation. They got horses and then later automobiles and access to trade. To the extent that black men can really control their environment without influence, the women are basically logistically forced to comply. I don't believe in female loyalty. I don't, and you all are foolish to believe in female loyalty. I believe it's situational. And I believe it's a product of the power that the collective of men have in that environment. Period. Everything about history tells me these bitches will sell y'all ass out the first chance they get, and that's all women. That's not even just black women. I mean, look at what the French women did with the Germans 80, 90 years ago. That's all women. And to the extent you understand that about the basic nature of women, you can protect yourself and predict what you're going to do. But this whole female loyalty thing, just by default, no, I don't believe in that shit. Nothing about history, nothing about biology, brief folks law about the female mammal. None of that supports anything about no female being loyal.
Brother, look how the females in Africa, behave once white men were colonizing Africa and everything else.
Well, this is the thing. He asked about the collective, and that's why I said, I can't verify it. Well, it cannot be verified that in American history that there was ever a collective of black women actually with black men. So the only thing I can even hope was that during Jim Crow, possibly 50-50 was going on. Well, 50% of them was definitely against us, and maybe 50% of them was with us. But because you can't verify it in any kind of real way. So that's the hope. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can give. And I see the request. I'm about to drop a link for you now, AL. I got you, brother. So
well, I mean, the reason
it definitely goes
my
to
thing with that question, to me, that's a simplistic question, and no offense intended to the brother nor into your response to him. But I'm belaboring this point because we need to break ourselves of this notion of females in general, not just talk about black females. Females in general, any loyalty they have is going to be situational, is going to be environmental. We see these white women ready to bust it wide open for Tyrone and whatever if the mood is right and the situation is right. And the Asian women to do the same thing, the Latino women to do the same thing. So ain't none of them loyal. All that shit is situational, environmental, and penile. Let's be real on that tip. So just like she not loyal with the white man because he's got big dollars. She disloyal with the white man because he got big dollars. She disloyal with the other brother because he's got a bigger dick. Whatever. Disloyalty is disloyalty. So if you understand that going in, you realize just how important it is for you to control your environment and remain suspect. I'm 30-something years in the marriage. I'm still checking some shit out. Straight up.
I ain't sure yet.
So I mean, fuck the bullshit.
No days off.
I'm still looking for clues on some bullshit. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable, but hey, if a trial balloon go up somewhere, I know what's happening.
Like Chris Rock said the joke, it's my own fault if I don't expect white supremacy to get me. I should never be comfortable where I'm not looking for. You know what I'm saying? I should never be that comfortable.
Same thing with a woman. Same thing with a woman. You ain't never supposed to be that surprised by what a woman. You ain't never supposed to be that surprised.
Well, we got AL coming up, so let me go ahead and give it to AL. How you doing, brother?
Good morning, Roger. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you.
Peace to the panel in the chat. Long live visualized stuff. You know how they do. You know how we do. Yay, yay. Even when they try to cut off Roger's water supply. He found a way to come back breathing and spitting it out. You know, you can't drown him, you can't kill him. Boy, you tougher than a cockroach. You know that.
Now that's the only time I'm gonna take being compared to a cockroach as a compliment, but I'm with you.
I see cockroaches quicker than you niggas. Shit, I mean, they done try to kill you rise. I ain't mad at you. I got to watching that little behind the scenes video you put up there. Man, hilarious. I mean, both of them were still a crap if you ask me, and both of them, the two different points of view that both of them were arguing, they still coming full circle, but they still wasn't getting anywhere. You know, black women. It doesn't matter. So David gonna complain about who treats us the worst, the white man or the white woman. I mean, a white man or a white man or the black man. You know, it's awesome, man. At the end of the day, I truly believe they're born in this world just already the die set on. I'll never be satisfied. I can't be told nothing. Who go check me? And, you know, when all else fail, fellas, I got same ill self guilt and thinking need to be right on my side. You know, and with all that said, you know, that's just two walking headaches from two different perspectives that still equal a whole hill and amount of garbage. Yes, you know, I just laugh, but I digress.
Well, but I'm gonna say though, to me, for that one black woman to go against the black woman who said clearly, I want to work for the white man, for her to not say in that little piece that I want to work for somebody else instead of a white man, to me, I was disappointed because that was the whole thing he was supposed to be attacking. And so when you say I would rather work with a diverse group of people, that does not point out who's in charge. And if you're gonna attack it like the first woman said something wrong when she say I want to work for the white man, the only way to really say that she wrong is to say I want to work for somebody other than the white man. You know, and since you're using diverse, you including all these people because you know when black women start talking about diverse, they usually mean it from this college context that includes basically anybody. But you wouldn't name nobody. So how do you argue against the woman who's saying I want to work for the white man clearly and won't say you want to work for anybody other than the white man? So my thing is, I don't even know what the point was to even quote unquote have an argument because to me it seemed like y'all agree with each other. You know, if you ain't gonna come out and say it, especially in the context of that conversation. Go ahead.
One is a less intense white supremacist than the other. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying the whole thing is she supposedly is coming at the first woman for saying that she rather work for a white man, as if she wouldn't prefer working for a white man. But as she started talking, she never said she would prefer to work for anybody other than the white man. So the reason you quote unquote attacked the first girl, you never confirmed that you had an issue with that actual reason. You know, saying you working with people is not saying you working for people.
Thing too.
No, Roger, she did say that.
Now,
she was like, "No, I'd rather diversity and stuff like that."
No, she said I'd rather work with.
Well,
she said with.
That's actually even worse because that's a bullshit answer.
Yeah,
and she's wearing that outfit like she's NOI, and we know NOI is supposed to be down with black men. So the first thing that was supposed to come out of her damn mouth was a black man leader.
Well, I took it as she was saying because she did say like white people don't understand our struggle, so I can't really mess with them. That's what I was thinking when I heard her say that.
The first thing she was supposed to say was she was lining up behind a black dude.
I agree.
That was the first thing she was supposed to say.
And that was the one thing she didn't say. She said, I would rather work with a diverse group of people, meaning that you could be working in a corporate office, you could be working in a factory, you can be working outside doing construction.
What that thing is, she okay with an Arab, she okay with a Mongolian, she
Asians,
okay with
Latino,
Eskimo. That could be anybody.
Anybody.
That ain't gotta have. If you're a black person and you use the word diverse, you ain't talking about no black people. You're talking about any damn body but a black person.
And especially black men. He's not talking about us.
And my thing is the major point for what she called herself attacking. She said work with. She didn't say work for. So all these diverse people you could be working with.
She want to work with anybody but some Negroes. That's implicit in what she presented.
No, it is, but I'm saying to me a very huge major point is she never said she didn't want this diverse group of people to be reporting to the white man. You attacked the woman who said she want to work for a white man. She made that clear. I want to work for that white man. The other woman just said I want to work with a diverse group of people, but that don't mean that diverse group of people don't answer to that white man. So she never actually disagreed. And if you're trying to go at the woman for saying she'd rather work with a white man, how come you didn't disagree? So what I got from that is she want to work for the white man too. She just trying to throw us off by saying I'll work with a diverse group of people. That don't mean you don't want to work for the white man though. You never actually disagreed with the lady. Because the lady didn't say who she wanted to work with. She said who she wanted to work for. There was no disagreement made. The other lady did not say she's unwilling to work with a diverse group of people. She said, I want to work for a white man. That's it. So the lady never disagreed with her. And that's what I'm saying. We got to start really paying attention to what people tell us. And that's why I say information is more important than presentation. The presentation was she was down for the brothers. You know, she done put the gear on and all that, as y'all say. You know, y'all got NOI coming to mind. You see what I'm saying? The presentation was there, but I heard what you said. And I wasn't just hearing it. I was listening. When I listened to you, I never heard you say that you had a problem working for that white man. I never heard you say you want to work for anybody other than that white man.
When I see a woman dressed like her, and we talking about who should be somebody's leader, and black man is not one of the first things that come out of her mouth, I don't need to really hear anything else from her. I know what program she is on that point. Because by default, even as an aggressive rebuttal, she's gonna say black man. Just as an aggressive rebuttal against hearing white man, she's supposed to say black man. That should be like a reflex for a woman like her. Hell no, I don't want no white man to be my leader. I want a black man to be my leader. I want a black man to be my boss. That was supposed to jump out of her mouth. But she said everything but black man.
And that's why, my thing is the way you present stuff is cool, but that don't mean I'm finna fall for it. You know, I wasn't falling for it because I never heard her say who she wanted to work for. And my thing is this: she made a video that obviously she saw the first video that was being referred to. She saw that video. It wasn't just like her saying something at random. You made a response to a woman who says she wants to work for a white man. And in your response, you never say, I want to work for a black man. You didn't even mention that in your response. So what were you really trying to do? And what were you really trying to come across? Basically, I want you niggas to feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, I want what she want, but I want y'all to support me because I'm not going to come out and just say it directly that I want to work for a white man, but I'm not going to tell you that ain't my actual goal. I just want to work with a diverse group of people. So not only do I want a white man to be my boss because I never disagreed with it, I don't even want you niggas there because I want a diverse group of people to be my co-workers. So I don't even want you niggas in the building. Now, I know they ain't the way she
the best line.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The best line that women in general, black women in particular, tell are lies of omission. Those are the most effective lines they tell. The bad stuff comes out of their mouth. The worst stuff never gets mentioned. And like I say, to me, what you have to learn if you're going to be communicating or listening to women, you have to already have in your mind the right answer to shit. And then, so as she speaks, you know whether or not you're getting that right answer. And that's why I said, to me, I'm thinking this traditional black Islamic NOI woman, to me, by default, she's supposed to say black man, ain't she? Well, maybe I'm wrong. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong.
Now you right. You
I
right.
mean, ain't black male leadership, ain't that's the whole point of all that? Ain't that's the whole point?
No, you're right. You're
They
right,
don't
Uru.
want to follow that black rule. You know that. I mean, they go give us. They right about now. They all in the mode because they 300,000 down. They're gonna give us all type of pandering and all type of lip service, brothers. Everybody
No,
in the
you're
inside
right,
my voice.
AL. But
I'm fine for that.
my point is, what is she really? You're right. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, the pandering. But to
Yeah.
me, okay, you're pandering, but you're not saying my name.
I mean, that's a part of
you're not really saying you're gonna submit to me. You're saying you're gonna submit to this amorphous diversity shit. And if you know anything about how America works, you know diversity ain't got a damn thing to do with black men. We know diversity means 3, 4, maybe 5% of everybody involved are black men. Anybody who knows anything about the term diversity, when it's used, they know there's very few black men in that room when that term diversity is used. Anybody who knows anything about how America works.
If you pay attention to behavior, diversity means anything but them niggas. Real talk. That's what diversity means. Anything but them niggas. Okay? That's what diversity means. If you pay attention to how diversity is applied, anything but them niggas. Okay? We gonna hire this black woman. We gonna hire this Chinese woman. We gonna hire this Chinese man. We gonna hire this Indian man, Indian woman. Anything but them niggas. That's what diversity really means. Now, my thing is this. I never even attached. I literally never had the thought of NOI when I saw her. Because let me say why. I think this is what I really believe. I didn't think NOI until Shark said NOI. I'm pretty sure the reason that NOI never crossed my mind was because she never said anything about leadership of black men. I think that's the reason I never associated her with NOI. Because my thing is, why you wearing maybe some Eric clothes or something like that? NOI never crossed my mind. There was no reason for it to cross my mind because she didn't say nothing about under the leadership or being under the leadership of black men. She never actually disagreed with the first lady. She just said, I don't want niggas in the building. That's how I took it. Because she didn't say I want a black man to be my boss. She didn't say I have a problem with a white man being my boss. I want to work with a diverse group of people, which means I don't even want niggas around. That's all I heard.
Raj,
okay, but here's the trick,
caveat. Raj, let me speak real quick. One caveat. Okay, we'll have a black man in there, but he has to be gay. They'll have a gay black man in there.
Well, but that's something you said. She didn't say that.
I want to speak to your point. She don't have to see. This is the great thing about imagery. She don't have to say it. When you just described what Shark, the presumption is all the sisters that we ever saw who were NOI look like her. So she ain't got to say it. They know on a subconscious level, if I style myself a certain way, present myself a certain way, people gonna automatically presume I'm down with the Negro. and in particular, a particularly strong kind of Negro, which is generally considered to be NOI. So she don't have to say it. That's the power of the witchcraft that she is working right there. She don't have to say it. She can lie right in our faces, right? And most people think otherwise.
Which is, and Black Root, that's the exact reason that I've been saying we got to have an understanding that information is more important than presentation. Because she definitely presented NOI. Nothing about what she said sounded NOI.
But that's a part of the that I'm talking about, not just with the guilt, shame, insults, and the need to be right. Also, with the way they dress, they're chameleons, fam. Also, like I said, like Black would say, she presented the garb and the apparel and the look from the beginning, but the words that came out her mouth was totally contrary to the way she was presented. So,
I've never heard no
everybody.
NOI. I've never heard an NOI woman advocate for diversity. Have y'all?
No. I was just going to say, she don't
that.
sound like no NOI woman I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but it sounds like she's still speaking from that delusional standpoint of her imaginary power. So she's using the word or the term with and not for.
Well, I believe that was very deliberate, though. I believe that was very she fine working with other people because that keep niggas out the room. So she fine working with other people. She fine working with the diversity. She never said she didn't want to work for no white man, though. So if you get you a white man boss, because that was the issue she was supposedly going at, that she did not actually disagree with. So if you got you a white man boss and you got a diverse group of coworkers, that means your niggas ain't even in the building. So she's fine. So, but now
not even in the equation.
Yeah, but now if you look at her and say that's an NOI woman, now you thinking this is an acceptable thing to even think about, and that's why I said I can't tell you about every NOI woman, but she don't sound like none I ever heard. That's real talk. She don't sound like no NOI woman I've ever heard.
That's because you never heard an NOI woman talk in private. You always hear them talk around the men. Because like Guru said, like Guru and AL said, that's just their wiring.
Well, she didn't seem to be wired toward black people in any way. Nothing she said was black first. And the one thing I do know about NOI people, at least publicly, they present that they black first.
Yes, they're black centric in public and in private. Yes, Roger is correct, but she did not present that.
Yeah, well, they NOI first. Like we not them. If you not messing with
that's legit.
That's legit. Yeah, because we don't operate like them, so they them first, and then black people come second. Because we you understand what I'm saying? I don't know how to really.
No. Technically, every black person ain't part of their club, but and they are their club first, and then other black people. So I wouldn't disagree with that statement at all. But even saying that, she definitely don't sound like NOI. NOI never even crossed my mind.
I agree. And I caught like Uber, you right. That goddamn witchcraft got me, man. God damn it, got me.
I can have the best though.
It's very important, and like AL was saying, or maybe it was I don't know, Shahrazad Ali was saying earlier. In these more desperate times, the witchcraft they gonna start pulling out. Boy, they gonna pull out a bag like Kobe Bryant, man.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna see some moves, and y'all gonna see some dribbling. Shout out to the late great Kobe Bryant. I'm telling y'all gonna see some moves and overs and unders in the next few months or so. Y'all would believe.
Yeah, you're gonna see some of these sisters gonna become pro-black and everything else, trying to run circles around all those black men and everything else.
They gonna have all types of counters out there.
You
I
have to
mean,
realize
all
it's some of them
all
down now.
kinds of countermeasures.
In panic mode, mode at 300,000 down, gentlemen. You have to pay attention.
Perfect.
They're gonna do a whole lot of abnormal things that the last 60 years we haven't been seeing, we aren't used to, we're not aware of. So guess what? You about to see a whole new type of witchcraft ramped it up ramped it up on in the heights that we have never seen before. Their deception and trickery and the way they lure you in and maneuver around you and you see, they've been so used to just being forthcoming and outright and in your face. Bam, here comes another dope jam. They just gonna put it dead in your face no matter what. But guess what? They 300,000 down. They hey, 300,000 down to humble you down to trying to be very contrite with how you deal with your opposition, fellas. And we are their opposition as far as employment goes, period, point blank. But I digress.
Well, you know what, AL, you make a good point about how they're gonna come at us. Now, I'm gonna say, since we talking about this, y'all, I think we need to really, technically even give her some props, because she made the video she made so she can put the message she wanted out there. She acted like she was against the first woman who just told us flat out, no, I want to work for a white man. I can at least respect her, because at least I know where she at. I don't need to worry about her. She told me she over there. Okay. So I ain't got to worry about her. She definitely over there. Now, the second woman, y'all think about the fact that she even went through the trouble to put this gear on before she made this video. Just so somebody like a shark will be like, oh, okay, that must be an NOI woman or something. Because he ain't the only person that slipped past. That presentation means a lot to people. We always talk about you want to make a good first impression. We know presentation is extremely important, and you want to present as best you can. Before she got on camera and started saying all that stuff, she literally went to a room at some point, pulled that out the closet, put all that on so she can get on that video and say the stuff she said to make you think she was definitely going to be on our side. And everything she said, truthfully, was, I don't even want you niggas in the room. And we'll sit there and cheer her on when she telling you straight up, I don't want you niggas in the room. I want to work with a diverse group of people, meaning anything but you niggas. Now, I'm going to pretend I don't want my boss to be white, but I'm definitely not going to say it. So there's no way for me as an intelligent individual to hear what she said and make a connection that she don't want that diverse group of individuals that's going to be her and her coworkers to report to that white man. Even though that's supposedly what she's attacking. Sound like she on the same side as the other chick. Because that other chick never said she didn't want to work with a diverse group of people. She just said, I need my boss to be that white man. That's all she said.
But the most diabolical part is the dude said he'd rather work for black women.
Which is a great product. If you get black women into white supremacy and you raise a guy like him, he wants a black woman to be in charge. Ain't that great for white supremacy?
He said he'd rather be third.
Well, I mean, with 3 generations and plus generations in the mama, TT, Big Mama, the teacher, the principal, the superintendent, every damn body y'all see that's bossing y'all around from the get-go is a woman. Many of them, depending on community, black women. So of course he wants his boss to be a black woman. He been trained up in that.
Yeah, and my thing, I'm saying this because it's something that we as black men really need to break from. And we need to start doing things and saying things, especially in front of other black men. Probably one of the reasons I told y'all, I remember when I was a younger man and I had to have that conversation with my mama to check her and let her know, look, I'm an adult now. I'm grown. I'm not just an adult. I don't live with you. I got my own place. You know what I'm saying? I pay my own bills. I don't ask you to take care of me or nothing like that. I don't call you and ask you for no ride. I am a grown man. You are not my leader.
Was she still trying to handle you, Roger, in your early 20s?
Yeah, it was like some early 20 stuff, because she's still mama. And her thing is, she didn't pay attention to the fact that her position changed in my life. So I had to simply let her know, look, your position is now changed. Now, only because you're my mother, I will really kind of hear out something from you. You may want to give me some advice that I don't even want to hear. Because you're my mother, I'll let you say it. Because if you was another woman, I wouldn't even listen to you. You know what I'm saying? So the mother just gets you an end to get the words out. But you don't get to tell me what to do. You know what I'm saying? We're not in your house. You don't get to tell me what to do. You can be an advisor if you like to be. You can pray for me. You can hope best wishes for me. But you are not my superior. Them days over with. It just is what it is. But I get that because I'm a black man and I wasn't raised that women are supposed to be in charge of me. I heard it said, don't get it twisted. I've heard it said, I still was in the black community. Ain't like people ain't said that to me. But you know what I've been hearing since I was a child? People kept telling me black men are supposed to be the leaders. Even the women that kept trying to tell me to listen to other women kept telling me black men are supposed to be leaders. So we can't all agree that black men are supposed to be leaders, but women are supposed to lead me. Because that don't work. That's a 2 + 2 = 9,800. No, that don't work. So I don't view women from some leadership position. If you want to be in a leadership position, I granted that can happen at work. If we working for the same company and you're the manager, you're the vice president or something, sure, you can tell an employee what to do because you've been put in that position where that's your job. But anything outside of that, how are you telling me what to do? And you're a woman. That don't even make sense. Which is probably why this video made no sense to me. Nothing about this video
and
made sense.
The funny part about women, even when they're your well, this has been my experience. I can't speak for you other lower people. I'm kidding. Usually at some point I start bossing women around, regardless of what her title. Yeah, maybe it's my voice, maybe it's just kind of way I carry on. But usually after a certain period of time, I start bossing my female boss. That's just kind of a thing that just kind of evolves, And usually what happens if she's a certain kind of woman or a secure kind of woman, she will submit. So you'll have some of the best relationships is when a woman is supposedly in a higher position, but that dude is pretty much that dude. And some women are smart enough to let that happen. Some of your best enterprises are where you have this woman who, for whatever reason, maybe by birth or widow or something like that, where the woman is by default the leader, or by figurehead the leader, but the dude actually runs the show. Those are usually smarter ones.
I will say this. I ain't never cared enough about somebody else's company to make that big of an issue. What I've learned, having a bunch of multiple jobs and stuff when I was younger, because I was really trying to be a rapper, so I was doing whatever was good for me. But what I have learned at multiple jobs, somebody will tell you to do something, and I say, hey, it's not really a good idea because it ain't gonna work out, blah, blah, blah. And you explain it to them, but they don't really listen. I don't really care enough about the company to make an issue of it. So if you tell me to do something incredibly stupid, I just do it. And then people will come to me, because it has happened. People have come to me and say, why'd you do such a stupid thing? Because this dummy told me to. That's it. That's all. I ain't going to say this dummy when I'm at the job. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give some level of respect, but that's what it's going to really be, because this dummy told me to do it. Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to work either, but the dummy told me to do it. And I just you leave it as it ain't my problem.
Now maybe it's just my arrogance and haven't been a professional. I'm the type who's willing to lose a job, or I was the type who was willing to lose a job by doing the right thing in the situation. I was never too afraid to not lose a job by calling somebody out on some bullshit. So I'm just kind of, but I think because I've been a professional and your reputation be on the line when some shit go bad and that shit travels with you. No, I'm not gonna let you. I'm not. You're not gonna have me out here looking like a damn fool. No, I don't play that. But I
That
think
makes a
that's
lot of
just a
sense.
different kind of perspective, you know.
Well, I think that's a very good perspective to have. It depends on what you're looking for when you get there. Now, y'all keep in mind, I already told y'all the reason I ain't want to go reason I ain't want to go to the military because all this stuff about white people in the country and what they did for us. So I was a little a-hole out there at the end of the day. I didn't care about the company falling. You see what I'm saying? It didn't matter to me. My rule is as long as you can pay me till I quit, I'm good. I don't care about success. I don't care about the success of anything really going on at the end of the day. And if I lose job, I just go get another one. So yeah, if you're trying to, go through the corporate world, go up or whatever the case is, and you trying to build a case for yourself, yeah, of course you should look at it differently and make some different decisions. I was an employee that did not care about the company at all. And that's real talk. Because by my estimation, these are white-owned companies anyway. What do I care about some white-owned company failing? Nothing. So that's just what it was for me. I'm a good employee for me, not for you. Okay, that's always been my attitude. And I didn't care if y'all failed because some dummy told me to do something. And I told y'all before, I worked for a company that just the announcement that you might not be able to pay was me leaving. As soon as the woman came in the room and made that announcement, I was up leaving, and people asked me what am I doing and why am I going. They just said they might have trouble paying. I don't get why y'all still sitting there. You can't tell me something like that and think I'm gonna keep working. That's you crazy to me. But I'm a person who did not care at all if the company failed. So I know what I'm there for. I work for me. I don't work for other folks. You know what I'm saying? People, I'm not mad at nobody who want the company they work for to succeed. I'm just not that person. Not saying I'd be a bad employee, because I'm gonna do good for me. I do believe I'm supposed to. If I'm working for somebody, I believe I'm supposed to do a good job because I would want them to do a good job for me. But if you tell me to do something stupid, okay, cool. I used to try to tell people and reason with them. I don't think that's a smart idea and stuff like that. But I've done come across too many people who just didn't listen, so I don't even bother with it. If you want it done and you paying, works for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how this come out, because it ain't mine at the end of the day. So I'm good with it. So you got to understand where you are as a person and what you're trying to actually accomplish. If I'm working for you, I don't really care about how your company is going to be successful or not. I do a good job, so you have a reason to keep paying me. That's my only real concern. And that's just what it is. Now, if I work for a woman, would I do a bad job because she was a woman? No, I wouldn't. And I think most men generally think women should take a back seat. I think most men do actually believe that men are supposed to be in charge of certain things. It's supposed to be in our nature. But I would never trip because a boss is a woman. I don't care, because at the end of the day, whoever owned the company made these decisions. I don't care about all that stuff at the end of the day. I wouldn't treat no woman poorly if she was my boss or something like that. I'm just going to do what she said because she said to do it. And I know I told y'all before, as a white woman, well, I worked for a fast food joint somehow she let me go home without cleaning up at the end of the day. And she was a really, really cool lady, and I had to do it to her. But I came back to work and the owner was there and he asked me, why you leave without doing X, Y, and Z? I didn't make no excuses for not getting my job done that I knew how to do. I just said, hey, man, you got a manager, right? Yeah. Well, the manager let me leave. And that was it. I ain't arguing, dude. I didn't technically do a good job. It was all type of stuff that I know I'm supposed to do, and somehow I left without it getting done. My thing is that ain't my problem. The manager let me leave. The manager signed off on me leaving. You got to talk to your manager about that. Why you bothering me with this stuff? You know what I'm saying? I don't even want to hear about it. Why are you bothering me with this stuff when you got a manager that's supposed to make sure my job get done every night and I didn't do my job, but your manager said I could go. So obviously the job was done well enough. So it ain't personal to me. It's just business at the end of the day. Okay? A business owner told me business is its own entity to itself, and that's how I operate. Okay? Now, AL, you saying something about those 300,000 jobs. Do I think black women collectively think it's an attack on them? I don't really think they think that. I just think they grab a hold of stuff like this to always saying something bad is happening to them. And I think they're going to use it to get sympathy out of me. That's what I really believe is going on. Are they really scared that society is going to change? They're going to be left out there. I don't even think they think that. It's just another thing that I can use to complain so somebody will do stuff that I won't done. You know, now the women who actually got fired, yeah, I think it's an issue for them. You know, but the rest of them, I think they just trying to grab at something so they can say, y'all should pay more attention to us. Y'all should hire us more so we can be represented the way we want it to be. And I don't think it's really a call to black men other than to complain with us so we can get something out the deal. It's not a complain with us so we as a community and as a whole can get something. It's just, hey, we need you niggas' voices right now so somebody white would do something that we won't done. I don't believe they even look at us as any type of real community level. Because black women, I'm telling you, have clearly separated from black men. They did it a long time ago. It's just a lot of black men ain't noticed it yet, which is a shame.
Well, I you know, the most potent thing that Trump did in this current presidential term is overturning that executive order that required that anti-discrimination in government and government-connected contracting and employment. That you all don't know. Like I say, none of you were alive when Lyndon Johnson signed that legislation. So everybody who is working now, other than old people like myself, I'm not really working. But you know, only you all have not lived in the world without that particular protection in legislation. And black women in particular have benefited from that. So when Trump reversed that has had a seismic change in hiring and in terminations throughout this country. There's never been a period where black women have lost 300,000 jobs in a 3 or 4 month period. That has never happened before. Not ever.
Yeah, you're right, Uru.
I mean, we're almost about to enter a period that has never really existed before, where there have been more employed black men than black women. None of us have lived in a lifetime where that exists. So it's a huge change. And I don't know what black women know or think they know about what's happening. But if you know anything about history, it's a different world than where you come from.
Yes, it is.
Right. Shout out to the late great Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, indeed. I say one thing, Black Guru. A lot of these sisters, you know, just in the last year have become pro-black after they were just becoming swirlers and all that type of junk when Joe Biden was in office.
Well, my thing is they haven't become pro-black. What they trying to do is play a pro-black game, because people who claim they pro-black be very much anti-black men. You cannot be pro-black and be anti-black men at the same time. So, you know, if you say the black woman is God, which a lot of these supposed pro-blacks do, you by default you can't be pro-black, because the black man worries about himself, his wife, and his children. Then the community. Black women worry about themselves.
Yep. I always act when niggas say that. I always say, well, then what are you? If the black woman is God, then what are you, black man? And they be
Black
stuck.
stamp.
Well, my thing is they they in the position where white folks won. Because every black man who think a black woman's supposed to be in charge is a victory for white supremacy. So they just in a place where white folks won. They just ain't figured it out yet. That's why it was sad for me to hear that black man talk the way he was talking. Because it's like, bro, they got you exactly where they need you to be. And he ain't got a clue. You know, I'm not saying the man didn't mean well. I think he did mean well. And I think he think it's an honorable thing for women to be in charge. I think he really believes that.
He's been brainwashed, Roger. He's been brainwashed. He's a panderer, and he whether he knows it or not.
Well, I wouldn't even necessarily call him a panderer because I believe a panderer is purposely saying and doing stuff so he can get a reaction. I think with him, this just deep in him, and it's just who he is as a person. Because for a man to believe he can't even state an opinion about a conversation between women is a man who don't think he's a leader. Have y'all ever heard somebody say so much stuff to say, hey, I'm not trying to go against what none of you women are saying? Like, he went through way too much to say that. And matter of fact, I'm even though I am gonna say something, I'm gonna make sure I ain't saying nothing against either one of these ladies, because that's not my place as a man. That's all he did.
He
That's
went
why I feel bad for him.
He went above and beyond. That's all he did.
Yeah.
Above and
Well, that's why I won't even call him a panderer, because I think a panderer at least know what they doing. You know what I'm saying? I think he just, boy, they just done got him. He's so far gone, it's amazing. You know, I do think a panderer knows what he's doing.
Roger, look at the hair.
Who, the brother's hair?
Yeah, like, yo, if you're not a roster, you're not supposed to be doing that.
What clarify what you mean by that.
He did the same thing the fake NOI girl did. You know what I mean?
Basically.
Got a costume on.
Basically.
Got a costume on.
But you gotta realize too, bro, these new age brothers, they in the, wearing them dreads and whatnot, but they have already been led down the road of the gynocracy via their mamas, their grandmothers, their aunties, their TTs and whatnot. So he just might be regurgitating the same bullshit ass diatribe rhetoric that he's been indoctrinated to his whole life. And that's all he knows. So
right,
a wolf in sheep clothing.
And a wolf in Rasta's hair.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't even think he's a wolf. There's nothing that I picked up from him that came from malice intent. But the issue is, if you think women are supposed to be in charge from a general standpoint, you've already given up. You're never going to look to advance your people in any kind of real way. You're not going to look that even for your own personal accomplishment that is going to be used in a way that it advances your people. You're not going to necessarily want to advance your own kids. I'm not saying you ain't going to give your kids something if you got kids, but you're not going to try to get them to advance us as a people because you've already given up, because you accept women going to be in charge. And, people can say whatever they want to say about that, but that's not like a personal feeling. There is a reality. If women own stuff, you could just take it from them. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Because if you give a woman a big company, a man can literally make her sign that over. He just got to get the right positioning and get the job done. I ain't saying it to be easy all the time. She'll hire some security, whatever, but you can make a woman sign over a company. That's just a way. That's just real talk at the end of the day. And once you sign it over, it's signed. If you can't prove it happened under duress, it's over with.
Yep. John Cheeto got him with a stroke of a pen, and they can't prove he did that under duress. Well.
And then women keep saying what men is supposed to do for the community. Well, it does take money, and it does take position. It does take leadership. and you have to have some influence. How am I supposed to make a community better if everybody don't believe I'm the leader? How can I come in there as a leader and give you a good idea that'll actually work and y'all actually accept it? Because you're not going to accept it if you don't see me as a leader. I can give you the best idea in the world, but if you think I'm a nobody and not worth leading anything, you ain't going to even take the good idea. You know? So I feel bad for the brother that he, looking at the world the way he's looking at it. Because I know there's only so far he can get. I ain't saying he can't get some personal gain, but at the end of the day, whatever he do ain't going to amount to much. Because he going to pass that on to his children, assuming that he got some or will have some in the future. You know? Yeah. Which is why I've talked in the past about, we got to start changing even how we do stuff and how we leave stuff to kids. Because if you want black folks to get ahead, you're going to have to do something different because what we doing ain't got us ahead. So we got to do something different. You know? Shout out to Dare I Said It. He says, Roger, this is common amongst black men. Many black men believe it's misogynist to lead if a woman wants to lead. I'm not going to say it ain't common, but people need to actually look up a definition of a word sometime too. You know what I'm saying? Because misogyny is actually about hating women. And leading women ain't got nothing to do with hating women. Truth be told, I don't prefer to lead a bunch of women because I don't care enough about those women. So there's, you know what I'm saying? So love is there when you want to lead somebody. But, if you're a man that's looking to lead a woman, I'm going to say love is there. Because I can't say the same thing for women. Women just want to lead men over a power dynamic. But men who want to lead women usually love those women. Well, amongst black men, we love those women and we want the best things for those women, which is why we want to tell them what to do. Black men don't have a issue about telling women what to do if it doesn't put them in a better position. We always try to tell some woman what to do so she can be better off. You don't see black men telling women what to do so she'll be worse off. Even the guys who misuse black women don't tell them to do dumb stuff so they'll be worse off. They tell it, then they might try to get the profit off of it, but they still gonna tell them to do this thing and that thing because if you do well, there's more money for me to take from you. But what do you do when the man already believes the woman's supposed to be in charge? You already beaten. And that's real talk. Well, I'm going to build up this company. I'm going to put everything in her name. Now, I understand that if you ain't got nobody else's name to put it into. But, man, you could find a guy somewhere to be involved. Or Black Rule, you told us some brilliant story about some man who put contingencies on his stuff saying that his daughters could get it. I think that was you who told us that his daughters could get certain things once she's get married. We got to start doing stuff like that. It may sound like crazy work to say, I'm just going to get, because some guys, they only got a daughter, Well, make some contingencies. Make her do certain things to get certain things, and that way at least
I know guys who specifically assign primary ownership to a grandson who wasn't yet in it. Now it was some contingencies associated with that, but to a grandson who wasn't even yet an adult, because there was nothing but women, elder women that were being left. So he assigned everything to. Now there was an executor and there's some qualifications associated with that. I think he did have to graduate college and that sort of thing, but he assigned it to an elder grandson. So he skipped past all the bitches and went to his grandson.
Sound like a smart move to do to me, and yeah, especially if it's a young child, sometimes you're going to have to put some conditions in there because you do want the stuff to go to somebody who can handle the stuff, We ain't saying give it to, we ain't going to do no quote unquote DEI where we going to give it to unprepared black men. But if you don't find a way to get it into a black man's hands, ain't no telling what's going to happen to it, because let's be realistic, y'all. We all have heard stories about rich women who came into money And then when the guy died, they did all kinds of crazy and stupid stuff with the guy's money. Dude earned a fortune. Some woman come in, she young. She married him before he died. And then she just started getting wild with the stuff that he built up once that guy gone. We all done heard these stories, Anna Nicole Smith was one of the bigger names that was doing that. And it took the dude's family they eventually sued to lock her out for money. But
He
when
was
she
the
had,
biggest gold digger in the world.
I'm definitely not gonna say she wasn't, but remember she was doing a bunch of wild stuff when dude died. When she had access to that money, she was going ham. But women do stuff like that because they didn't build it up.
Hold on, Roger. Hold on. What you mean before? She was doing wild stuff in her early days before she met this dude.
Yep.
No,
Come
on.
I mean, I'm talking about what she was doing with his money. You see what I'm saying? She didn't reverence that money the way he did because he understood what it took to get himself in that position. Now I don't know if he came into some wealth from inheritance or whatever, but he had to do some real work that had that fortune that he had. So of course he was treating it very much differently than she was. When she had access to his money, she was just doing whatever. And we see stuff like this all the time.
She wasn't even supposed to be in any position to have any control. That was negligence on his regard, and that was part of the reason why his children, who obviously were not from her, challenged his will and his estate, because he appeared to not all be there. The fact that he allowed her to do, I mean, was this guy pushing 90 or whatever, right? I mean, this is an old,
he was old as dirt, man. He was.
Yeah. So I mean, just the way that whole thing came together was just disastrous. The way he went out was just terrible. It was a mess. It's one thing to mess around with some tramp and to throw a few dollars at it. He could have thrown a few dollars at it out of his wheelchair. That would have been fine. But her to be in any position at all where she could have affected business interests of people, and we're not just talking about his family, although that's important. When you have a certain level of wealth and business interests, you're affecting and potentially ruining the livelihoods of lots of people. It was profoundly negligent what he did, and he probably should have been declared incompetent.
He should have been declared incompetent, years back.
Honestly, I don't think he was messing with his family like that, and he did that despite them. Like, he ain't really messing with them like that.
I think he probably,
you know what?
Well, that could have been the case, but the thing is, it does open the door for millions of families to be affected. Because when you own a bunch of stuff or you control a bunch of stuff, not only do you affect your company, you're going to affect companies that services your company or their products are bought from your company, which potentially affects a lot of other people. There are companies that thrive off the existence of another company, and if that other company goes away, they in trouble. Yeah. This type of stuff happens, and then that started affecting random employees that work for these other companies that make a bunch of money because they work with this one company. If you supply tires for a factory, I mean, you depend on that factory to exist. It's just gonna happen that way. The factory close up, it might not be a big deal to me, but if you the guy supplying tires to that particular factory, your employees in trouble at that particular point, because that's where 95% of your business is coming from.
The CEO of Firestone starts tricking off stock options and shit to some hookers and some hoes in the strip club. That's going to affect stock prices. Motherfuckers pension funds.
Right, folks gonna be in trouble, And a lot of times,
but we did. We actually have a recent example of a man who became incompetent, and y'all let this guy run the country. Motherfucker became incompetent right before all our eyes, and people propped him up like he was running the country. And ain't nobody in prison yet. I'm still waiting. Trump, look, I know you're going after them immigrants. That's well and good. But I just think somebody should go to prison over that Biden thing.
I mean,
You said over that Biden thing?
I mean, the man couldn't run a campaign. If you can't run a campaign, you can't run a country.
That was diabolical. When I found out, and the ill part is they shamed everybody for asking about it when he was in office.
Yeah, and that's why I kept saying that Kamala Harris was the acting president of the United States. Nobody in no official position said it, but I knew that's what was going on, because you can't tell me that man was running this country.
Kamala was not running the country. It was somebody else running the country, but it sure as shit wasn't Kamala.
Well, I mean,
I agree with Black
Nobody is going to elect Kamala and unelected Kamala Harris run no country. That's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, there was definitely some behind the scenes thing where Kamala's doing what other people tell her to do. I'm definitely not going to say that. I'm just saying from a position standpoint, she was the acting president of the United States. Now where she was getting her orders from, I can't tell you wholeheartedly. But yeah, I don't believe she was the one truly running things. It was being run through her. You know, shout out to Chef Mike's Roundtable. He say hashtag weekend at Bernie's. Well, that's pretty much what it was.
Exactly.
It was 4 years at Bernie's, not a weekend. It was 4 years at Bernie's.
4 years. 4 years at Joe's.
Oh, now that's crazy work right there. That's crazy work. You know, but see, when things like this go into place, though, there are a lot of Black women who help support this stuff. You know, because was Biden not Black women's president? You know, the collective of them, were they not fans of him being president of the United States? So that wasn't no issue for Black women. You know, wasn't they cool with him talking about, if you don't vote for me, you ain't Black? Black women was fine with that. You know, even when it started making headlines and whatnot, they's cool with it. You know, they never really had a problem with that. You never saw any. You didn't really see any notable Black woman say, "What the heck is he talking about?" You know what I'm saying? You didn't really even see that. So Black women was super cool with it. You know?
Yeah, and they were telling Black men to shut up and vote. That's what they were doing back then. Shut up and vote. Listen to us. That's what they were doing.
To think that white supremacy can, be as effective as it is without Black women's help, to me, is kind of crazy. They give a whole lot of help to it because they are white supremacists. And why wouldn't you help your own? Yeah, but I think
Joe wasn't the first Klan member who could boss around some Black women, and he won't be the last.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're right on that,
though. There was Thurman who had a black side piece, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Robert Byrd have a black side piece too? And he was a Klan member.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I would bet money that, other than Obama, I'm gonna leave him out of it for context, but I would bet money we ain't had a president who wasn't busting down some Black women.
LBJ, Mitch McConnell, just to name a few.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah. And I'm not saying everyone got caught with Black women, but I wouldn't bet a dime on the fact that it was any president outside of Obama that didn't have Black women busted down. I don't believe that for a second. Now you throw Obama in there, he might have had some white women busted down.
Google Bill Clinton black son.
Oh yeah, I remember that scandal. I remember that scandal.
Yes.
The darkest spitting image of William Bill Clinton.
I mean, look exactly like him, man.
Just a tan version of him.
Yeah. And black women would say a lot of government stuff, but they busting down presidents. I'm just saying, were you the leader of the free world? Yeah, until they got to do something for y'all. But
although to be fair to Bill, I think that boy was conceived and born before he was in the White House. So I guess I'm referring to him as a boy. He obviously a grown man now.
No, he was a grown
But
man
yeah,
when Bill
apparently
got
he
the
did
White
that
House,
damage.
right?
Apparently he did that damage back in Arkansas.
Yeah, on the way up. Before the come up, yeah. But yeah, I don't think there's any president that outside of Obama who ain't been busting down black women. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that has happened at all, even though they do act like they have a problem with government sometimes. But I just think the ones who actually have a problem with government is the minority. It's not really the majority. I think the ones who actually rock with black men, black women who actually married to black men, who listen to their husband and see them as their leader, I think those are the women who wouldn't be doing stuff like that. But the rest of them, which would be the vast majority of black women at this point, they don't rock with us like that. And they all for white supremacy being there, and they all for you having to work. And I've said it before. That's my personal belief about why black women have such an issue when a black man say he want to start a business. Man can be married to a woman for 10, 15 years, and he said, I want to start a business. She the biggest thing, the biggest opposition he got because he said he want to start a business. And my thing be like, why wouldn't you want your husband to start a business that's going to benefit your family? Like, it sounds so insane to me that you would have a black woman who's against a black man not starting a business when she is literally the main woman that's going to benefit from it.
Roger, can you say my egg donor, my ex-wife, when my grandmother put up my seed money for me to go down and make a loan, get a loan, so I could start my trucking company. Oh, I was fine as long as I was a hand and my comings and goings. The minute I decided I was gonna buy that goddamn truck you see in that avatar, I became public enemy number one to my egg donor, my ex-wife, my sisters, every black woman in my family. I became an enemy of, and I don't fuck with to this day. I literally watched them hate on me. Oh, the truck's too old. Oh, it ain't gonna go nowhere. You ain't gonna be able to stay in business. This, that, and the third. I'm like, hell, I'm catching more hate from y'all than I am from the white man I haul for.
Well, you know what? Something I have noticed about black women over time when it comes to that specific thing, because I looked at all this stuff about black brothers who wanted to go in business for themselves. Black women don't seem to have no problem with business happening. The issue is you being in control of it. That's unfortunate thing that I've kind of noticed. Yes. If a white man told you to do it, it's fine. But if you tell yourself to do it, it's a problem. So, for me, it's hard to separate black women from white supremacy when I see them doing the same things that white men who hated black men were always trying to institute. The white men who hated black men didn't want the black man raising his children. The average black woman today don't want a black man raising his child. The white men who clearly hated black men did not want black men owning their own businesses. The vast majority of black women do not want a black man to own a business. We got rich people talking about, I didn't want to put my name on my business because I'm a black man. Why would he have to think that way? And as I've told y'all before, I can't prove it, but my people was telling me that as I was growing up, that it was a sentiment going around amongst black women to tell everybody buy from a white guy instead. So, and people could say that's nonsense, but when I think about that saying about the white man's ice is colder, how could what people told me be a lie? Black men had their own stuff because of segregation, so they had to build their own everything to have it. But now they're gonna quote unquote integrate You know, how was nobody telling black folks to go buy from the white man instead? But there's also a saying, the white man ice is colder. How did those two things not be connected? You know, and that's what I was taught. Black woman was telling people, no, don't buy from the black guy, buy from the white guy. The white guy's stuff is gonna be better. And I'm not saying in some cases the white man stuff wasn't better. I'm sure it was better in some
My
scenarios
mom
because they
told
had
me
more access to stuff. But why would
that
you
was her way
not?
of saying exactly what you just said.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you skip past them to buy from your own so you all can be in better position? Because I think that's a huge place that we chose to fail at. You know, and I think too many black men just listen to their wives and under those circumstances too. Because what we was doing during segregation should have just kept going. Yeah, we integrated now. Sure, you can actually now have some white customers that may come in from time to time. But as black folks, we definitely should have kept doing our own thing. You know, even the bus boycott, the bus boycott had a real negative effect because from what I was told, when I was looking into that, it was like 500 black-owned bus companies that went out of business after that bus boycott. You know, it's cool to get the little victory to ride in the front of the white bus, but we ain't supposed to let our own companies just go out of business. That wasn't a smart move at the end of the day. So I do think this stuff is important because we have the advantage of hindsight, and we should be using the fact that we have the advantage of hindsight. But we also got to point out the unfortunate fact that I don't see how white supremacy could be held up in the black community unless you had so many black women that's cool with it and think it's a great idea. You know, because the one thing I haven't personally seen either is that black women advocate for a black boss. Now, I will say that. I never see black women say they would rather a black boss.
I look, I'm not going. I remember things being more complex than what you described. I think there were some thriving black businesses, a lot of struggling black businesses. A lot of never could get decent pricing on inventory for resale, zoning issues. I just remember a lot of sabotage going on with black businesses. I remember that in Chicago. I remember that down south. I remember, it's interesting, the movie Center. I remember going to the Chinese-owned grocer in the Mississippi Delta. And I remember wondering, why aren't these stores owned by black people? And I remember it being told to me rather bluntly that they would only allow those Chinese people to own and operate that business. I remember my great uncle telling me things like that. So I have a more nuanced and complex view about what was going on back then. Certainly it was some of what you were describing, but then it was also a lot of other things, very blunt efforts made against black businesses. You get a little area going here in Chicago, and then the dailies or the fucking Volantics or any of these people zone this shit into some shit that then 20 years later or whatever gets gentrified, and you got a bunch of damn yuppie white kids over there. I remember that happening. I'm not talking about something I read about. I'm talking about shit I actually saw, like with my own eyes. And hearing black business owners describe getting basically run out of business due to municipal and state policies, your dailies, your Volantics, your Jim Thompsons. I'm naming names, right? Your Badoliaks. Those who are old enough know who the hell I'm talking about. Those are the folks who went out to Harold Washington when he was trying to open shit up in Chicago for black political and business. I remember that shit. I mean, some of that was black female sabotage. A lot of that was some white man bullshit, white supremacy. specifically. Now, it did not help when the family started coming apart, when they started divorcing guys and taking their kids from them. You can't keep no. How you gonna run a business on some bullshit like that? Half your money going out the door to somebody else. You can't do it. To me, the biggest sabotage was not the ice cola shit. To me, the biggest sabotage was running off somewhere and taking the man's kids with him. Well, okay, I got to live here, I got a lease here, and then I got to pay for her to be somewhere else. How the hell you gonna operate and maintain a business on some bullshit like that? That's what I saw take down black businesses more so than your ice cola bullshit. That I saw personally.
I mean, I ain't the one to argue with it. And that makes a whole lot of sense when you think about it. That makes a whole lot of sense. So I'm pretty sure that was just going on with the ice being colder, which is just not a good situation for brothers to have to be in. And shout out to There I Said It. There I Said It says, gentlemen, running your own business with any degree of success automatically gives the brother authority. Black women are uncomfortable around this. And I do agree with that too. And I think that's easy to see when you start thinking about how black women pick men to have relationships with, and the fact that they got so many children by, Pookie type people. I do think there's a large number of them that are truly, truly, on edge about being with a brother who's doing something with himself. They just don't like that idea.
Oh, so that's what it was, huh? The minute I became an owner operator and started my own business, my egg donor ex-wife and sisters and siblings and TTs and them, they thought I was gonna become an authoritarian over their lives. So that's where the hate began. Oh, okay, I get it. All right.
Well, I think some of it is just really the idea that you challenge white men. Because whatever we own means the white man ain't got it. And this is an unfortunate thing black men gotta ask themselves. Who do black women rather have it? Do they want black men to own it, or do they want white men to own it? And I'm pretty sure if you pay attention to their behavior, it's only one conclusion you can come to. They just rather white men own it.
But then turn around and tell you, why aren't you starting a business? Why aren't you fighting the white man? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? Y'all don't get out of here with that nonsense y'all be portraying.
They would definitely say it while trying to throw up every obstacle in your way when you're trying to get a thing done. Black women don't even like it when you say, "Look, I'm finna kind of I'm gonna just catch you on the weekends here there because I'm finna like lock down." If it's just something as simple as I gotta study for finals, they get pissed off. I'm about to lock it down for 2 months because I'm finna, finals is coming. I'm finna make sure I'm good. I want X, Y, and Z to happen. I want to go to graduate school. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I'm just talking about a brother that's just in college.
I lost a girlfriend while I was studying for the certified public accountants exam.
See what I'm talking about?
She was like, "Well, it's my birthday. It was my birthday weekend, all that kind of bullshit." I ain't give a damn. I got an 18-hour exam coming up. Fuck that.
It's just another day.
You can have a birthday next year. I don't give a fuck. And and it's interesting. I remember back then, when you studied, and when you studied for that exam, back then, it kind of becomes your whole world, right? And I remember being surprised that she was surprised that I didn't give a fuck about her birthday. I'm like, bitch, I'm getting ready to spend almost 20 hours in McCormick Place, right? I don't give a shit about your birthday. I don't care nothing about your birthday. It's going to be 1,000 people in here taking this exam. I don't care about your birthday. And we went back and forth, and I just stopped returning the phone call.
Yeah. I mean, these are decisions a lot of brothers got to make. And at the end of the day, I have noticed that it ain't even necessarily the older you get, the more problems you'll have with women. It seems like the more success you have turns into more problem for women. If you get a job, it's an issue. If you get promoted on a job, it's an issue. You get a degree, it's an issue. You know, because we say a lot of stuff that's separated from each other, but when you start bringing all the information together, it does show a very disturbing picture. You know, black women say they want you to do better. Well, I don't see y'all messing with the dudes in college like that. Seem like when a brother at school, you're doing everything to avoid them, but you swear you want black men to do better.
I mean,
How can those two things be real?
You would think the brothers in the engineering program be holding down the whole campus.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Them are the ones that's gonna get hired the quickest and have the highest starting salaries.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then they all complain about black college athletes and everything else. You know, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but some of these white women see some of these black athletes. You know, they was potential.
It's a phony conversation because you're talking about less than 0.3% of the whole population of people on campus. They're not even representative of anything. Your star athlete is not representative of anything other than himself. Exactly. In a very, 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 very small population of other men.
Exactly. And that's why I've said before, and this is probably a harder concept for people to accept. You got to remember, celebrities don't really even exist. What is the percentage of celebrities we have in this country? We got over 340 million people in this country. How many celebrities y'all think we got? You know, they're not even a percentage of a percentage. They don't really even exist. They just get a lot of focus on them, but they don't really even exist. But, you know, yeah, you an athlete, you a singer, you're an actor, whatever case is, they're going to get all these props or whatever. These people don't really even exist. They're not a statistical factor to anything, you know? You know? But women say they want you to do this, want you to do that, but you never see them knocking down the doors of the people literally in the position of doing it. I done seen more brothers have trouble because he simply got a job. Okay? I done seen more brothers run into trouble with women because he got a promotion. I done seen people who own something have issues with women. And I'm not saying they just having regular issues. It's like the better off they doing, the more issues they seem to have. Which is crazy work for people who talking about we want you to do better. But when a brother just started a business, why are you down on him? You know, it ain't like he ain't doing nothing. He just got a successful business off the ground. He should be celebrated at the end of the day. But you don't see them celebrating them brothers. And I just use college because college is just a very easy way to see that you got all these brothers in college going for these different things, and you don't see women chasing them. You know, dude is gifted. He got a gifted mind. You know, highest potential to invent some stuff or change the world. But you don't see women knocking down his door. And that's why I even made a point with MVP for today, for short. You know, the stuff that he was doing, you going to Penn State, you know what I'm saying? The brother say he tall. I think he said like 6'4" and all that. People should have been trying to do everything they can to get their daughter in front of him. The girls should have been lining up behind his door because he's tall and he's smart. You know, he's doing something with himself. Yet, it didn't happen. You know, he just wasn't being chased like that. So women say, well, yeah, I just like a brother that's tall. But when the tall brother doing something to better himself, he's not as liked. Yeah, if you think he NBA potential, sure they'll chase him. There's a whole lot of guys that's over 6 feet who ain't going to the league. Neither one of them. You know? And I don't see the same reaction of those men. I just don't see it. And I'm just keeping it real. As a person who's been around tall men since I was a kid, I just don't see the reaction. I see all these tall brothers. Women swear they want a tall man. But when that brother doing something constructive, he don't seem to be chased like that. That's crazy to me. But y'all, we are past the 3-hour mark, so I'm going to have to bring this to a close. It's been a great and interesting show, if you ask me. I appreciate everybody who came in to chip in any way that they did. Is there anybody who want a last word before I shut this down? Last word going once. Last word going twice.
I'll just say that, hey, I appreciate everything from you fellas, man. Yeah, it's a lot of the history, a lot of the knowledge, wisdom that you guys give, man. I mean, it definitely is priceless, man. And so I appreciate you guys.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
I enjoyed this subject that you this panel
aboard.
you put together and everything else. Welcome aboard, by the way, B. Welcome. And Roger, I'm glad you put this up together and everything else, because the next couple months is going to be really interesting.
All I'm gonna say is, brother, be swift on your toes.
Well, I guess the last thing, kind of on that point, hey brothers, y'all better, be prayed up, for you Christians or whatever y'all are, and really have some, I mean, this is crass, but really think about your BJ resistance, your blowjob resistance quotient, because they're gonna be offering some stuff out here. I know it sounds crass, but in the months to come, women are very very natural beings. They're very natural beings. When she knows she's at risk, she's going to get sexual. A mammalian female, when she needs resources, when she needs protection and coverage, she is going to get sexual. It's not just black women. It's not just human women. All mammalian females get down like that. So I know it sounds like a kind of a little thing, or it seems kind of crass, but watch yourself out here, because some of y'all gonna get some action out here y'all ain't got maybe ever in your life. I promise you. Once the X number of women get laid off and get evicted, it gets very primal and survivalistic at that point. So be prayed up.
Well, I guess I'm just gonna say, y'all, if you hit through with that line, I've always liked you, it's time to be careful. that ain't the one, y'all.
I was wondering what you was doing with your life.
I always liked you. So you ain't gave me no. I've been knowing you 15 years. I always liked you. Y'all be careful out there. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all be careful out there. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. It's been wonderful as far as I'm concerned. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel, y'all. And y'all like the video too. Don't be cheap on this channel with the likes. Y'all get the likes up. Real talk. Hit the like button. But if you're new here, we do this 9 a.m. Chicago time. You might be in Connecticut, but it's 9 a.m. Chicago time. Long live the Habitual Line Steppers. I'm Roger. I'm right. And I'm out.
Yay, yay.